From start to finish, his goal was not to kill, but to create an opportunity for Li Chuanxiang, or more accurately, for his three descendants to escape. Relief flashed in Peng Bo's eyes, and he closed his eyes, ready to face death. Clang! However, in the next second, a loud noise erupted from in front of him. Who goes there? Hearing Han Jiulai's angry and startled voice, Peng Bo quickly opened his eyes and was shocked to see a double-edged giant axe in front of him. Looking up along the axe handle, he realized it was a robust, black-clad, masked man who had saved him. He's definitely someone from Long Mountain. Don't waste words with him, kill Peng Bo. Wuxing wielded a long staff and approached fiercely, without a word wasted, directly swinging down at Peng Bo. Han Jiulai reacted quickly as well. If Peng Bo didn't die today, the Hankyang and Wushuang families would probably never sleep peacefully again, so he also stopped questioning the identity of the black-clad man and drew his sword to continue attacking Peng Bo. Heh, I'm here, and you still want to kill. The voice of the black-clad man was unexpectedly young. Seeing the two continue to press forward, he drew the giant axe, spinning it horizontally at high speed, carving out a circular ring of axe blades around himself. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. The circular axe blades almost solidified, impervious to wind or water, whipping up a fierce wind that raised the snow on the ground several meters high, creating an overwhelmingly terrifying momentum. Despite this, Wuxing and Han Jiulai still charged straight ahead. Clang, clang. The staff and sword clashed with the axe blades simultaneously, producing two showers of sparks. Although they managed to momentarily halt the circular motion, Wuxing and Han Jiulai's faces turned significantly more serious. Power approaching 5 manes. Which one from Long Mountain is he? It's getting difficult to kill Peng Bo now. Both of them had the power of 7 manes, so handling someone of the cold resistance level at 5 manes was normally no issue. But the key was that this black-clad man was here to rescue Peng Bo. I'm risking my life to save you. Why are you standing there dazed? Hearing the black-clad man's voice, Peng Bo quickly came to his senses, pulling out the arrow stuck in him, and raised his ghost head great saber, standing beside him. Thank you, brother, for saving my life. Whoosh! The leader was indeed right. The giant axe is heavy, has a wide attack range, and huge inertia. Its advantage is fighting against multiple opponents, but one-on-one is not ideal. Yuan Cheng stopped his giant axe, steadied his numb hands. Having collided with a master of 7 manes for the first time, his face behind the mask showed no fear, but rather excitement. Just save Peng Bo, don't reveal your identity, don't say anything no matter what others ask, save Peng Bo, and directly bring him to the beehive. Recalling the orders Xia Chuan had just given, Yuan Cheng gripped the giant axe, moved a bit closer to Peng Bo, and stared straight at Wuxing and Han Jiulai ahead, suppressing the growing battle intent in his eyes. Bang! As the 4 of them remained locked in a standoff, another loud noise erupted from the periphery. Aside from Yuan Cheng, the other 3 couldn't help but glance over. Li Chuanxiang and his group, who had just escaped the outer buildings, were suddenly forced back. The loud noise was caused by he too among the 3, kicked back by someone, crashing through a house. Li Chuanxiang was forced back by an iron arrow shot at him. He initially intended to catch it with his bare hands, but as it approached his face, he realized the arrow had a powerful air current behind it. Sensing its astonishing power, he immediately dodged to the side. Who is it? From the south, 3 people walked in slowly, the one in the middle clad in black appearing young, carrying a giant broad sword on his back, and holding a sturdy longbow, clearly the one who had just shot the arrow to force back Li Chuanxiang. They didn't recognize the young man in black, but the 2 people following him were shockingly familiar, Chen Yingba and Wu Tangxing. Seeing the 2 cold resistance level members from their side arriving, and Chen Yingyuan holding a baby in his arms, he couldn't help but show a hint of joy, but immediately thought of something, and his expression turned solemn. Brother, the beehive has been taken by Xia Hong. Our people have all been controlled, and Long Mountain is about to fall. You shouldn't stick with Li Chuanxiang and the others. Chen Yingba stepped forward 2 steps, speaking endearingly yet bitterly to Chen Yingyuan. Hearing this, Chen Yingyuan's expression instantly darkened. This was about what he had guessed. Leaving aside Chen Yingyuan's reaction, Li Chuanxiang, he too, and Peng Bo, who had just been saved by Yuan Cheng, upon hearing Chen Yingba's words, their expressions changed greatly, and their eyes began to flicker. Ha ha ha, may I ask which brother from Xia Hong has arrived? Han Jialai and Wu Xing's reactions were completely opposite, bursting into excited laughter, bowing towards the leader from the south as they spoke. Xia Hong's Lin Yi, Lord Hu Ming was worried that Long Mountain would attack Yang Lu, and specifically ordered me to bring Chen and Wu to assist Leader Wu and Leader Han. Yuan Dao laughed heartily, returning the bow to Wu Han with a subtle cold gleam flickering in his eyes, unnoticed by anyone. Among the 4 cold resistance levels attacking the beehive, Hu Ming, Hu Bing, Hu Ying, Wu Xing and Han Jialai have seen them all. Only Lin Yi has not, and your power is similar to Lin Yi's, so just disguise as Lin Yi and with Chen Yingba and Wu Tianxing, pretend to assist them, with Chen Yingba first persuading Chen Yingyuan, then controlling those 3 children. Also, remember to kill. Recalling Xia Chuan's instructions, Yuan Dao turned his head to look at Li Xuanxiang's group, forced back by him, focusing intently on He Tu in the middle, whose power was just that of the 3 main level. Chapter 523, Chapter 232, Saving Lives, Acting, Xia City in Uproar 8000 word chapter, more to come. Ha, Master Hu is truly considerate, Wu is very grateful. Wu Xing clasped his hands with a loud laugh, then exchanged glances with Han Jialai beside him, a flicker of apprehension passing through both their eyes. Xia Yang's attack on the beehive and their own assault on Yang Lu had been prearranged to occur simultaneously, so they were already aware of it. However, for Hu Ming to send reinforcements to assist them afterward was beyond their expectations. They were unaware that Wu Tianxing had secretly pledged allegiance to Xia Yang. From their perspective, with 2 cold resistance level guards, over 700 earth-digging realm warriors, and the advantage of a home base, the beehive could not easily be overtaken, even with Hu Ming's 1,500 troops. Capturing an entire camp is not the same as killing 2 cold resistance levels. But Xia Yang achieved it with apparent ease. The amazement turned to wariness in their hearts. Of course, their current anxiety paled in comparison to the joy brought by Lin Yi, as he arrived with Chen and Wu. Brother Lin, leave no survivors. Li Xuanxiang, Peng Bo, He Tu, and this cold resistance level of Long Mountain, all are threats that must be eliminated. Before Wu Xing could finish his sentence, Peng Bo had already charged at Chen Yingyuan. Brother Chen, I do not care about the issues with Long Mountain and Xia Yang, but please, those 3 children must be entrusted to me. Peng Bo owes you a tremendous favor, which will definitely be repaid in the future. As it turned out during their escape, Li Xuanxiang and He Tu led the way while Peng Zhu, Liu Ming and Qin Feng, the 3 children, were left in the care of Chen Yingyuan. Chen Yingyuan looked at the baby in his arms and the 2 children held by his left arm. He raised his head to see the desperate pleading in Peng Bo's eyes, causing him to hesitate. He had good relations with Peng Bo, and there had never been any discord between the beehive and Yang Lu, so he should have handed the 3 children over to Peng Bo. But his situation now was different from before. Chen Yingba had just stated that with Xia Yang capturing the beehive, his entire family, along with over 30,000 people at the camp, had inevitably fallen under Xia Yang's control. Like Chen Yingba and Wu Tianxing, he could only act on Lin Yi's command. Returning the children would please Peng Bo. But what about his own family? Understanding the stakes, Chen Yingyuan eventually could only express an apologetic look to Peng Bo, and then turn to Lin Yi, handing over the baby and 2 children without uttering a word. Leader Chen, truly a wise man. Yuan Dao took the baby and 2 children, noticing their exceptionally high body temperatures. An initial look of surprise quickly turned into a smile as he turned to Peng Bo, quietly saying, "Don't worry, Leader Peng, as long as you follow my orders." Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past Yuan Dao. A man in black had snatched all 3 children. The masked person was none other than Yuan Cheng, who had just saved Peng Bo. Who goes there? Yuan Dao looked at the masked Yuan Cheng with an expression of anger, unable to react in time and showing his frustration. Wu Ying and Han Jialai were furious. What was within their grasp had flown away. Crucially, Yuan Cheng was believed to be someone from Long Mountain. If he took these 3 children, then Peng Bo would surely align with Long Mountain too, posing endless trouble. Chen Yingyuan did not expect Lin Yi to be so careless. He was both caught off guard and secretly delighted to see the children rescued. "Leader Peng, let's go." From his first appearance till now, Yuan Cheng finally said a single sentence. With a face full of joy, Peng Bo turned toward Li Xuanxiang, showing a moment of surprise, then quickly followed Yuan Cheng in retreat. Wu Ying and Han Jiulai would certainly not allow their easy escape, charging forward to stop them. But before they could act, Lin Yi had already moved ahead, charging toward Li Xuanxiang. Leader Wu, Li Xuanxiang is more important, kill him first. With that said, as Lin Yi rushed toward Li Xuanxiang, he also instructed the others beside him. Chen Yingyuan, Chen Yingba, Wu Tianxing, you three pursue Peng Bo. No need to capture alive, kill directly. On their side they had 4 cold resistance levels, plus Lin Yi making 5. Killing Li Xuanxiang was undoubtedly feasible. If they could eliminate this second young master, it would be a major blow to Long Mountain. Wu Ying and Han Jiulai exchanged glances, seeing that Chen Yingyuan and the others were truly going after Peng Bo, and joined Lin Yi in rushing toward Li Xuanxiang. Surrounded by 5 people outside a building, Li Xuanxiang's face was already extremely somber. Initially, 4 of them had come to scout Yang Lu. Now Peng Bo had fled, Chen Yingyuan had defected, leaving only himself and he too. Moreover, being besieged by 5, escape was uncertain. The situation deteriorated this quickly. Second young master, it's not wise to resist. All the earth-digging realm from Wushuang and Hankyang are in the surrounding buildings. It's getting dark. We must find a way to escape. Hearing He Tu's words, Li Xuanxiang looked up at the sky, realizing the sun was almost set, his expression growing even darker. Don't worry, second young master, even if it costs my life. Li Xuanxiang sensed something amiss in He Tu's words, instinctively wanting to interrupt, but there was no need as Lin Yi and his 5 allies had already charged forward. Chapter 524, Chapter 232, Saving Lives, Putting on an Act, Xia City in Uproar 8000 word chapter, more to come. Clang. 5 against 2, a fierce battle reignited. Brother, could you hand over the 3 children to me first? Escaping from Yangyuan Peak, they hadn't gone 5 or 6 kilometers and could still faintly sense the 3 relentless presences pursuing them. As they fled wildly, Peng Bo anxiously called out to the black-clad figure ahead, requesting the children. Unlike before, Peng Bo now looked at the black-clad figure with a hint of wariness, especially noticing that the person was gripping the 3 children tightly without letting go. His expression turned immensely tense. Just moments ago, the black-clad figure snatched the 3 children from Lin Yi, and instead of finding Li Xuanxiang, chose to escape first, taking them along. At that moment, Peng Bo realized that this black-clad figure in front of him was not from Long Mountain. If not from Long Mountain, then why save him? Though filled with perplexity, Peng Bo still decided to rescue the children first. Unexpectedly, the black-clad figure ahead suddenly stopped running. There are people behind us. Don't worry, Leader Peng, let them come. The black-clad figure directly removed his mask, revealing an exceptionally youthful face. Peng Bo was first shocked by the youthfulness of the black-clad figure, and after closely observing that face, he confirmed he'd never seen it before. He thought for a moment and continued to ask for the 3 children. But before he could speak, Yuan Cheng simply handed over the 3 children to him. These 3 have a very high fever. They must have been given something right. Peng Bo took the 3 children, his expression both perplexed and delighted. Even the caution in his eyes as he looked at Yuan Cheng diminished, replaced by confusion, not even noticing Yuan Cheng's inquiry. Having lived over 50 years, even if not a master of people, Peng Bo could see through many things at a glance. Wu Ying and Han Jiulai killed so many people but spared his 3 little grandsons. For what purpose, he was well aware. Simultaneously, when Li Xuanxiang took him to infiltrate Yang Lu, discovering the children alive, he immediately agreed to help rescue them, knowing his intention. At its core, it was all about controlling him. Similarly, although this young black-clad figure wasn't from Long Mountain or Zhejiang, regardless of his origins, it was clear that controlling these 3 children equaled control of him. Yet he still directly handed over the 3 children to him. A feeling of gratitude rose in Peng Bo's heart. He cupped his hands and respectfully bowed to Yuan Cheng. I'm eternally indebted to you, young brother. If ever in need, speak out. Whether through fire or sword, Peng Bo will never refuse. Yuan Cheng quickly gestured to his side, waved his hand, and replied with a smile. No need, no need. You showed some resolve rescuing these little ones. Our minister commended you as someone who values honor and integrity, so he ordered us to assist. If repaying, you should repay our minister. Rescuing these little ones, minister, we offered assistance. Hearing this, Peng Bo's expression froze momentarily as he connected the key information in Yuan Cheng's words, then shuddered. Besides them, there was a third party. Looking up at Yuan Cheng again, Peng Bo's expression completely changed. Everything occurred too quickly for him to closely observe Yuan Cheng. Now, upon careful observation, he realized Yuan Cheng's clothing style and material didn't match any family in Longyu. Another camp, involving itself in Longyu. Peng Bo's speculation quickly ceased, because Chen Yingyuan and the other two were catching up. Peng Bo vigilantly turned around, only to see Yuan Cheng nonchalantly facing them, even storing the large axe on his back and approaching with a smile. Quite slow, discussed everything with leader Chen on the way. Yuan Cheng's words left Peng Bo's expression momentarily frozen. But the following scene instantly caused his pupils to contract in shock. Chen Yingba and Wu Tianxing both put away their weapons, slowly walked up to Yuan Cheng and respectfully bowed to him. Yuan, sir, I've informed older brother. At the back, Chen Yingyuan, with a bitter expression, paused for a moment before walking up to Yuan Cheng and respectfully bowing. Chen Yingyuan at your service, Yuan, sir. What's going on? All right, rest assured. Our Great Xia is different from other camps. As long as you serve our master well, Great Xia will treat you and your family generously. Yuan Cheng didn't seem to care whether they paid attention, and after speaking directly turned to Peng Bo, inviting him by extending his hand. Leader Peng, unless I'm mistaken, you likely have nowhere else to go. How about joining us to meet our minister? Great Xia, minister. Peng Bo's expression was already numb, but realizing he indeed had nowhere else to go, as Yuan Cheng said, his face first showed some desolation. He turned to look at his three grandsons and could only smile bitterly while nodding. Meanwhile, Chen Yingyuan and the other two suddenly realized that Yuan Cheng had handed over the three children to Peng Bo. Their expressions showed initial shock, but quickly turned to Yuan Cheng with complicated emotions in their eyes. Our Great Xia is different from other camps. Recalling Yuan Cheng's earlier statement, their eyes turned from complexity to growing hope. Hopefully it indeed is so. As for the events far away in Yanglu, let's set those aside. On April 16, as night approached. Chapter 525, Chapter 232, Saving Lives Playing Roles, Major Upheaval in Xia City. Xia City suddenly became lively. After Xia Hongkai was away for 3 months, there wasn't much change in the outer city, but in the inner city, many new houses had been built. There's still a little time before nightfall. According to Ice Abyss's normal schedule, most people should still be in their dreams. Even if some are awake, they are very few. But tonight in Great Xia, something is clearly unusual. In the inner city, many houses have lit their lamps early. Shadowy figures are moving inside, and occasionally a few figures walk directly out of the houses and start heading along the street towards the main building. Near the wooden buildings in the valley, at number 8 Wooden House. Han Gang just finished putting on his war armor when his wife Cheng Fang brought a bundle from next door. After helping him carry it on his back, she said with concern, "Didn't they send over 1,000 people just recently? Mew followed the Green Wolf team there. Why are you also being dispatched now?" Her husband Han Gang had already broken through to cold resistance level, and the Green Wolf team he led had successfully advanced to an intermediate hunting team 2 months ago. Cheng Fang was more than satisfied with their current life, sometimes even feeling like she was dreaming, afraid of waking up one day. A while back, the minister deployed 20 intermediate hunting teams to Jing Valley, including her husband's Green Wolf team, so their eldest son Hong Mu went with them. Cheng Fang had been worried for some time, feeling anxious, and now, before dark, she heard her husband say he received orders from the minister to go to Jing Valley, which made her even more worried. Although she's a woman, she has her own information channels. Rumors in the camp suggested that Jing Valley was engaged in battles with other camps. First, their son went, and now the husband is asked to go. Not knowing the details, Cheng Fang naturally assumed that Great Xia was losing the battle. Cheng Fang hesitated, watching her husband still checking his belongings, and spoke with concern. "Is it because the minister lost the battle, that's why?" "Close your mouth." Han Gang, who had never been angry, shouted angrily, stood up and said, "I told you to stop poking your nose outside. You don't know anything. What nonsense are you spouting?" Cheng Fang's eyes instantly reddened, showing a look of grievance. Han Gang's attitude softened immediately, walked up and hugged his wife, speaking gently. All right, I know you're worried about me. I shouldn't have lost my temper, but you shouldn't speak recklessly anymore. Cheng Fang pursed her lips, nodding lightly, yet her face was still quite unconvinced. Han Gang chuckled softly twice, hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, Let me share some information with you, don't spread it outside. The minister won a great victory. I heard that a giant camp was captured and many prisoners were sent to Jing Valley. The director probably wants to capitalize on the victory, so he's coming back to deploy more people. There are a total of 32 intermediate hunting teams in the camp. Last time, 20 of them went, and the remaining 12 will go this time, along with 50 elite low-level squads. Count it, how many people in total? Upon hearing this, Cheng Fang's eyes showed a hint of fear. An intermediate hunting team is fully staffed with 50 people, a low-level team with 20. Discounting the previous 1,000 people, this time an additional 1,600 will be sent. Sending so many people. It's not just that. The minister returned temporarily and named Zhu Yuan, Qiu Peng, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Lin Kai, Lu Yang, Huang Yang, me. All captains of intermediate hunting teams have to go, plus the 8 who are already there. All cold resistance level personnel from the camp are going. I guess there must be a huge gain over at Flimsy Plain. Speaking of which, Han Gang's expression showed eagerness. His eyes revealed ambition. He said with a deep voice, What's the point in leading just one intermediate hunting team? If we help the camp capture Flimsy Plain, your husband might secure a position as a defense envoy in the garrison department, stationing outside, and then you and the 3 kids will live even more comfortably than now. I'm already very satisfied with our current life. I just want you, Mu and Yi, the 3 of you to be safe and sound. Women folk. Though Han Gang joked, his expression was exceptionally pleased, clearly appreciating his wife's sentiments. It's all right to do work for the camp, but you have to look after Mu carefully. Don't let anything happen to him. I know. Rest assured I'm off now. Han Gang nodded, reassuring his wife, picked up the bundle and went out the door. Old Han, let's go. Just as he got outside, neighbor Huang Yang came out as well. The two immediately walked together toward the main building, chatting as they walked. Mentioning the battle at Flimsy Plain, their expressions gradually became excited. Both were of cold resistance level and could come out under the setting sun, but for many families inside the valley, it was different. In many homes where lights were on, similar scenes to those in Han Gang's house were happening. Whether it was wives sending off husbands, old parents sending off sons, or brothers sending off siblings, the circumstances varied, but the excitement on the faces of those about to leave was almost unanimous. Clearly, for the vast majority in Great Xia, this large-scale camp deployment was an opportunity, one that was indeed a rare and excellent chance. Chapter 526, Chapter 233, Army sets out, Yang Lu's transformation, mid-stage cold resistance. Great Xia Valley, main hall on the top floor. As usual, the main seat was still empty. But an hour ago, Xia Chuan was still at Yangyuan Peak. Now he was standing right in the center of the main hall, somewhat entranced by the patterns on the cold ruins tripod. On either side of the hall, Zhu Yuan, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Lin Kai, and Lu Yang stood divided, their expressions somewhat excited. Greetings, Minister. Huang Yang and Han Gang, who arrived late, found 6 people already standing in the hall. They immediately quickened their steps, paid their respects to Xia Chuan, and stood at the back. Sir, only Qiu Sijeng is missing. Zhu Yuan walked to the side of the cold ruins tripod, gently reminding Xia Chuan. Xia Chuan withdrew his thoughts, turned to look at the 7 people in the hall, and his expression slightly braced. I just rushed back from Flimsy Plain, hardly resting along the way. Time is of the essence, so I won't waste words with you, I'll be brief. From Yanglu to the Beehive, then through Jing Valley, crossing the Arrow Bamboo Forest and finally reaching Xia City, this distance is roughly about 100 kilometers. Being familiar with the terrain and having cold resistance level cultivation, Xia Chuan ran all the way, but even so, it still took more than half an hour. Qiu Peng is still notifying all the members of the hunting team one by one. He can't come for now, so I'll lay it out for you first. The 7 in the hall were just awakened from their dreams by Qiu Peng, and they had learned some information about Flimsy Plain from his mouth. Knowing that what Xia Chuan was going to say next was important, they immediately got in the spirit and listened carefully. On the night of April 25th, we successfully took the Beehive. A large number of prisoners have already been sent to Jing Valley, more than 200 earth-digging realm, and 4 cold resistance levels, all detained in Jing Valley, personally guarded by Yue Feng. The entire beehive area of over 700 square kilometers and more than 29,000 people now all belong to our great Xia. Because there are too many people, large-scale migration is not very convenient, so only a portion of the important ones were screened and sent to Jing Valley first. Subsequently, if nothing unexpected happens, people should be sent back to the garrison side one after another. Well, as Xia Chuan's words fell, the eyes of the 7 people suddenly froze, and the expressions that were already excited instantly added a few more intense touches of joy. When Qiu Peng notified them just now, he only said that the minister had won the victory, but he did not say it so specifically. Over 700 square kilometers, more than 29,000 people, and 4 cold resistance levels, 200 plus earth-digging realm prisoners. The key is this is still a rough harvest. As a giant camp, the iron mines, coal mines under the beehive, and other resources and materials would definitely not be scarce. Big harvest, big harvest. Congratulations to the minister, flag high and victorious. The 20 intermediate hunting teams did not go in vain, haha. All right, no need to flatter me. The victory this time is first because the leader sent word in advance, giving us the advantage, and second, there were many coincidental factors that night, not much to do with the strength of our great Xia. Xia Chuan raised his hand to suppress the cheers of the crowd, then lifted his expression and continued. As for the Longyu alliance, you probably all know, Pinxi Plain is currently in internal strife. 12 camps are surrounding Long Mountain and Jieyang, attacking and annexing each other. Our successful capture of the beehive amidst the chaos was based on this point. Because we took the beehive very quickly, and the subsequent information blockade was very tight, so right now, the entire remaining 11 of Longyu still do not know the existence of Great Xia. Therefore, grasping this golden opportunity to take more territory is Great Xia's most pressing task. The 7 present were not only at cold resistance level, but each led an intermediate hunting team, normally leading hunting and coordinating team members' relationships, all of which were extremely mentally demanding tasks. Compared to the other people in the camp, their communication skills were already well practiced. Therefore, they could extract the key information from Xia Chuan's words instantly. Internal strife in Pinxi Plain. Moreover, the remaining 11 of Longyu do not know the existence of Great Xia. This is not just an excellent opportunity, it is clearly a golden time. In an instant, they realized why Xia Chuan was so urgent to rush back from Pinxi Plain, and why even before the night fell completely, he had Qiu Peng go door to door to notify people. There is no threat near Xia City, and the camp's current stock of supplies is enough for us to use for a long time, so I only left Zhu Ling here to watch. Su Ning is stationed at Huayuan, and Yue Feng is in Jing Valley. Currently, Yuan Dao, Yuan Cheng, Luo Yuan, Han Guang, Han Tian, Meng Yi Xiaolong. 7 are all on the Pinxi Plain side, U7 plus Qiu Peng. A total of 8 including me, a total of 16 cold resistance levels. The camp's cold resistance levels have almost all been deployed. The 20 intermediate squads already sent over, and an additional 12 this time, plus another 50 elite low-level squads, making a total of 2,600 people, is considered the strongest force we can currently muster in Great Xia. The leader is also in Pinxi Plain, but he won't appear for the time being. Most likely he will only help in secret, so everything depends on us. This time, whether or not Great Xia can firmly establish a foothold on Pinxi Plain and participate in the subsequent competition for the hegemon position of Longyu will depend on you. The 7 present, all of their expressions suddenly shook. Especially hearing the expectation contained in Xia Chuan's last words, Lu Yang was particularly moved, clasping his hands in salute to Xia Chuan, excitedly saying, "Minister, rest assured, to open up territory for Great Xia, Lu Yang will not shirk." Chapter 527, Chapter 233, The army sets out, Yang Lu changes, mid-stage cold resistance. The remaining 6 people immediately followed suit with Lu Yang and bowed to Xia Chuan. For the expansion and territory of Great Xia, we shall not hesitate. Good. Seeing the strong morale among the people, Xia Chuan's eyes were full of approval. Turning his head, he noticed it was completely dark outside the hall and quickly spoke. Qiu Peng should have almost finished notifying everyone. This time, we are mobilizing the full 1,600 troops. Qiu Peng has already ordered a large batch of weapons, armor, and Dan medicine to be drawn from the camp's supply department. Additionally, I have also informed Mu Dong that starting tonight, the craftsman department will work day and night without rest to rush the production of weapons, Dan medicine, and various war materials. Now, I will begin assigning tasks. The 7 people immediately stood straight, their expressions becoming more solemn upon hearing this. Xia Chuan pondered for a moment before speaking immediately. Zhu Yuan, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao. Present. The 3 of you will lead 12 intermediate hunting teams, 45 low-level hunting teams, amounting to a total of 1,500 people. Carry only weapons, bows, arrows, and necessary Dan medicine. Embark lightly from the outer city and travel along the Xia direct route to reach Jing Valley first. I will head over there in advance, and as soon as you arrive, proceed towards Pinxi Plain. As you command. After Zhu Yuan and the others answered with a bow, they immediately turned and exited the Great Hall. Lin Kai Lu Yang. Present. You 2 head to Jing Valley first and notify Yue Feng to immediately arrange for personnel there to clear a marching route in advance. The main force must reach the hive as quickly as possible. As you command. The 2 responded with a bow and quickly exited the Great Hall, heading towards Jing Valley. Han Geng. Present. I have the exact location of the hive here. Go directly there and inform Meng Yi and Hong Tian to have the main force ready and waiting. Once I arrive, they must immediately switch defense and set out with me to attack other camps. As you command. Han Geng bowed and also quickly exited the hall. Huang Yang. Present. Assist Qiu Peng in organizing the supplies from the camp supply department and lead the remaining 5 low-level hunting teams to deliver the supplies to Jing Valley. The speed should be swift along the Xia direct route. Wait there for my further orders. You might need to deliver supplies to the hive later, so take some time to familiarize yourself with the route from Jing Valley to the hive to prevent mistakes. As you command. After bowing, Huang Yang also turned and left the hall to find Qiu Peng. In the now empty Great Hall, Xia Chuan gazed at the cold ruins tripod. Perhaps it was the reflection of the large fire inside, but it seemed as if there was a fire in his eyes. Chen Yingyuan, Chen Yingba, Wu Tangxing, these 3 won't stir up much trouble, and most likely they will have to obey Great Xia in the future. The elite forces are under control, less than 100 remain alive in the earth-digging realm, and the hive is practically in ruins. Great Xia just needs to raise a banner and declare. Over at Yanglu, as long as Yuan Dao carries out my orders, Li Chuanxiang will certainly not let it slide easily. Those 2 fools, Wu Xing and Han Jiulai, since they love Yanglu so much, let them take the brunt and absorb the firepower from Long Mountain. Zhejiang currently holds the advantage, so we must find a way to weaken it. Once the main force switches defense, the first target should be. Xia Chuan turned his gaze to the massive map of the Great Xia behind the golden throne on the high platform of the hall, which hadn't been updated for a long time. The northernmost part of the territory map is currently Jing Valley. However, Xia Chuan's gaze gradually shifted to the northwest of Jing Valley. After seeing the position of the hive camp, he raised his eyes slightly northward. Year 48 of Longyu, the 16th of April, late night. Report to the leader, 79 of our brothers have died. Peng Bo killed 32, Li Xuanxiang and he too killed 40, and just now in a nearby house, we found 7 more bodies, likely killed by them when they infiltrated the camp. Report to the leader, we lost 28, all killed by Li Xuanxiang and his companion. On the outskirts of Yangyuan Peak, Wu Xing and Han Jiulai stood at the entrance, their expressions turning extremely somber upon hearing the reports of casualties from their subordinates. At their feet lay a corpse. The head of the corpse had been smashed, making it unrecognizable, and it bore 2 fatal sword wounds on its chest, one wide, one narrow. Standing beside them, Lin Yi, upon hearing that 7 more bodies were discovered in a house by the people from the Wushuang camp, had a brief flash in his eyes. Upon seeing Wu Xing and Han Jiulai both lost in thought, he hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward, bowed, and said, Lin, with limited ability, couldn't prevent Li Xuanxiang from escaping alive, and I apologize deeply to both of you. Seeing Lin Yi's face full of remorse, Wu Xing immediately waved his hand in a gesture of dismissal. Noticing the several spear-inflicted wounds on Lin's body, he softly consoled, Brother Lin, there's no need to say such things. Li Xuanxiang is late-stage cold resistance cultivation with a full 10 main strength. Failing to kill him is indeed regrettable but not disgraceful. Han Jiulai also nodded, kicking the corpse by his feet, saying with a laugh, taking down he too is quite an achievement. Losing a 3-mained cold resistance level fighter is something even as powerful as Long Mountain will feel painful about. We've made a profit. After hearing their consolations, Lin's expression lightened slightly. Wuxiang's words truly held some truth. Even among those of the cold resistance level, the strength varies significantly due to differing battle body talents and levels of cultivation. Li Xuanxiang possesses a superior battle body, late-stage cold resistance cultivation, and 10 main strength. Although they had 5 people on their side, both Wuxiang and Han Jiulai as well as Lin Yi only had 7 main strength, whereas Wu Ying and Wu Lin barely exceeded 3 mained. Their first-time collaboration was not particularly coordinated. Defeating Li Xuanxiang wasn't difficult, but killing him wasn't simple. Chapter 528, Chapter 233, The Army Sets Out, Yang Lu Changes, Mid-Stage Cold Resistance. Brother Lin, is Chen Yingyuan's side going to be all right? Wuxiang quickly thought of something and immediately asked Lin Yi. Beside him, Han Jiulai also turned his head to look at Lin Yi, his face full of concern. They were already irrevocably hostile with Peng Bo. If they failed to kill Li Xuanxiang and Peng Bo escapes again, they would truly suffer heavy losses without any gain, unable to even sleep well in the future. Rest assured, both of you, Peng Bo is only at EIGHT Chinese letter level. Not only is he injured, but he's also dragging 3 burdens. If Chen Yingyuan and his team lose him, I will certainly report to the leader, demanding severe punishment for those 3. Hearing these words, Wuxiang and Han Jiulai seemed to relax a bit. Respected leaders, forgive my bluntness. We drove Chen Yingyuan to defect, frightened away Peng Bo, killed he too, and Li Xuanxiang narrowly escaped death. When Long Mountain learns of this, they will surely be furious. Li Xuanxiang has already gathered intelligence on Yang Lu's side. I suggest we prepare early, lest Long Mountain's army arrives and we are caught unprepared, which would be disadvantageous. Hearing this, Wuxiang and Han Jiulai immediately exchanged glances and nodded. Brother Lin's words make sense. 6 days ago, we lost over 400 men against Yang Lu. Right now, the 2 families combined have only about 1,400 left. Adding the more than 600 earth-digging realm controlled by Yang Lu, we have just over 2,000 troops. If Long Yu's army arrives fighting hastily, we may not be able to hold our ground. Hearing the mention of Long Yu's army, Han Jiulai's expression turned solemn, and he nodded. It's already been night for a while. I will now go deploy our forces. We need to keep an eye on the gullies around Yangyuan Peak, and I have already sent Wu Lin to watch the suspension bridge. Any unusual movement must be reported at once. Having said this, Han Jiulai left. Wuxiang remained in place and instructed a few from Wushuang before turning back to Lin Yi with a moment of hesitation. Brother Lin, the strength of Long Yu's army is formidable. We might not be able to hold them off on our own. Could you? Leader Wu, rest assured. After capturing the beehive, we already sent a batch of reinforcements your way. They should have set off after nightfall and will arrive here shortly. Hearing this, Wuxiang finally showed a hint of relief and said, "Thank you very much. I have arranged a place for you to rest, Brother Lin. Please do so." Immediately, a person stepped forward, gesturing an invitation to Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded and followed the person to a well-furnished house on the outskirts. Entering the room, Lin Yi immediately waved to dismiss the guide, then sat down, a glint appearing in his eyes. Long Yu's army should be Long Mountain's elite. They fear only 2,000 men. Either they are exceptionally strong or numerous. To be honest, being able to disguise himself until now came as a surprise to Yuan Dao. He wasn't well acquainted with Pinxi Plain's situation, let alone Xia Hong's. Xia Chuan had him pose as Lin Yi, akin to driving a duck onto a perch, simply because he was the only suitable candidate. Had either of them asked anything about Xia Hong camp, he might have slipped up. Yet, surprisingly, neither Wuxiang nor Han Jiulai had ever doubted him thus far. The superior instructed me to keep up my disguise for as long as possible. Han Jiulai and Wuxiang aren't particularly strong. I only need to guard against Zhejiang people from exposing me. Remaining in the outer building area, I can make a quick escape if anything arises. If nothing happens, I might actually have to help these 2 defend Yangyuan Peak. At present, Longyu involves a skirmish between Zhejiang and Long Mountain. Although Zhejiang currently has the upper hand, Long Mountain is not weak. If they capture Yangyuan Peak smoothly, the pressure on the eastern side of the beehive would naturally increase. So before his identity is exposed, Yuan Dao really has to assist Wu Han and Han Jiulai in securing Yangyuan Peak. Moreover, I must prevent Wu Xiong and Han Jiulai from sending messages back to their bases, and even intercept any messages sent from their bases to them. I need to buy as much time as possible for the superior's operations. Yuan Dao's eyes flickered, as he continuously calculated in his mind how to maximize his influence. The land of Longyu spans over 300 kilometers from north to south and over 400 kilometers from east to west, totaling over 13,000 square kilometers. From a north-south perspective, excluding the westernmost Long Mountain, the rest can be roughly divided into 3 regions. The Beehive, Yanglu, and further west Yucheng all belong to Longyu's southern region. Directly north of the Beehive is Hankyang Camp, considered the central region, where Wushuang, Changning, Songyuan, Xiling, and White Abyss also reside. To the west of Hankyang is Wushuang Camp. North of both Wushuang and Hankyang lies Zhejiang Camp, which covers the largest territory, considered the northern region. The only other camp in this area is Dongking Camp, located just east of Zhejiang and at the northeastern corner of Pingxi Plain. Amidst heated battles between Beehive and Yanglu in the south, the central and northern regions remain surprisingly silent, especially Zhejiang Camp. Ever since Hu returned from Long Mountain on the 14th, they have been celebrating for 2 continuous days, filling the entire camp with an unusually festive atmosphere. At the main building of the Zhejiang Ping Valley base, in front of a distinctly extravagant house, 2 elaborately dressed maids walked out quickly, their faces showing clear anxiety. That gentleman is really hard to please. Just a touch from me and I was scolded several times. How can I seduce him like this? Same for me. Just now I slipped in as he was bathing and undressed, yet before I could get close, he rebuked me, saying he was cultivating and strictly forbade anyone from approaching. Chapter 529, Chapter 233. The army sets out, Yanglu changes, mid-stage cold resistance. This is too difficult. No choice, I have to think of another way. I've heard that his strength is very strong, similar to the leader. Such people surely have strong determination. There's no way now. We've changed more than a dozen people in the past 2 days. Do you think he might like men? Stop talking nonsense. His strength is strong, be careful he hears you. On the second floor of the house, Xia Hong sat cross-legged on a wooden bed. In front of him was an iron cauldron with a diameter of 20 centimeters, containing some leftover medicine residue. Xia Hong closed his eyes tightly, and the skin around his body was surging, while fine pores were constantly emitting thin strands of blood energy. The blood energy grew increasingly dense, enveloping his body, seemingly like the process of cocooning, gradually forming an oval-shaped blood-colored sheath. Poppy. As the blood cocoon fully formed, Xia Hong's pores stopped emitting blood energy. Instead, the flesh and blood beneath his skin began to slowly rise, and then gradually contracted, starting from the top of his head, down to his face, neck, chest, and back, all the way to the soles of his feet. After repeating the process of expansion and contraction, Xia Hong suddenly opened his eyes. Boom! The blood cocoon suddenly shattered, and although Xia Hong didn't do anything, his body seemed to have grown heavier by several times, directly collapsing the wooden bed. Xia Hong stood up from the ground and took a slight breath, gathering all the dispersed blood energy towards his nostrils and inhaling it back in. All the flesh and blood in my body have regenerated once, doubling in strength. Even if the skin is broken, the flesh can provide me with a certain level of defense. As long as I'm not hit in any vital area, ordinary injuries can be healed during combat through the regenerative ability of flesh and blood. This is the mid-stage cold resistance, and this is just the effect of flesh regenerating once. Xia Hong felt the formidable strength within his blood and flesh, looked extremely exhilarated as he clenched his fist to sense his power, his eyes immediately shining with keen brilliance. 15 pounds of jade bone not only allowed me to break through to the mid-stage cold resistance, but my strength has also increased to 20 ONE Chinese letter. Across the entire Longyu, apart from Li Tianhua, there's no one stronger than me anymore. Hu kept his word. As soon as he returned to Zhejiang, he immediately ordered his people to deliver the 20 pounds of jade bone he promised earlier, along with 5 drops of cold apple jade dew, and included the formula for boiling the jade bone. He even thoughtfully asked Xia Hong if he needed help to boil it. This showed that he treated Xia Hong as one of his own. Boiling jade bone requires more than the cold apple jade dew and jade bone, zhu yinhua, white frost grass, and 8 other herbs, along with a massive amount of coal stone. Xia Hong could hardly refuse when Jie Yang was willing to provide them. In 2 days, under Xia Hong's extensive supervision, all 15 pounds of jade bone were boiled according to the formula. Finally able to use jade bone for a legitimate cold resistance level cultivation, Xia Hong picked up the boiled jade bone soup and eagerly began his seclusion. The effect of the first use was surprisingly good. As he had expected, after consuming the jade bone, the biggest reaction was from his internal flesh. Unlike the sun exposure method, which brings cold light into the body to damage the flesh to achieve regeneration, the regenerative effect of the flesh after consuming the jade bone was 100-fold, no, perhaps even 1,000-fold. After consuming the jade bone soup, his internal flesh began to collapse, transforming into strands of blood energy that seeped out from the skin, and then the powerful energy from the jade bone reorganized the collapsed flesh, forming new, stronger flesh. Mid-stage, late-stage, peak flesh can regenerate 3 rounds in total, the first round having such effects. When my strength grows to 30 SIX Chinese letter, I'll enter the second round, when my flesh strength and regenerative capacity will soar again. By the third time, with strength reaching 70 TWO Chinese letter, my flesh strength might rival that of advanced cold beasts. In a past encounter with an advanced snow mane, Xia Hong happened to break through the opponent's shoulder flesh, so he was quite familiar with the flesh strength of advanced cold beasts. If it weren't for the current critical moment, I'd directly hunt a few advanced cold beasts to get more jade bones and break through directly. In the upheaval in Longyu, Xia Hong had to pause his cultivation for now. Given his current strength in one-on-one combat, he could practically walk without fear in Longyu, making cultivation seem less urgent. Moreover, hunting advanced cold beasts carried too much uncertainty, and urgency was not an option for him alone. Besides, having only jade bone isn't enough. Cold apple jade dew seems even more important than jade bone. Currently, Long Mountain has a stable output, and Hu likely has some, but he clearly guards it a bit from me, so they aren't easy to acquire. Finding them myself is too slow. A plan is needed to acquire from these 2 places. The formula for boiling jade bone was already known to Xia Hong. Aside from other materials, the most crucial 4 are jade bone, cold apple jade dew, zhu yinhua, and white frost grass, with proportions of 3 pounds, 1 drop, 3 stalks, and 3 stalks respectively. 3 pounds of jade bone for 1 drop of jade dew. Although zhu yinhua and white frost grass aren't as precious as cold apple jade dew, they aren't easily found either. I've found the cold resistance level cultivation method, but sourcing materials remains an issue. Seems I need to figure it out from Longyu. I got 20 pounds of jade bone, but only matched with 5 drops of cold apple jade dew. Was this intentional bait with cold apple jade dew? Hu indeed has some clever thinking. Xia Hong detected Hu's little scheme and revealed a slight smile, recalling Jie Yang's arrangement of more than a dozen maidens for him in the past 2 days. His expression turned more peculiar. More than 5,000 earth-digging realm, but only about 1,000 remain at the camp. Counting the Blood Guard army stationed outside, it means at least 3,000 people are unaccounted for. Highly likely they've taken action against other camps, just don't know which ones. Xia Chuan should have received my letter and is probably watching the beehive. Great Xia intends to reach out, and now is the best time. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to inform Xia Chuan and would need to find an opportunity to send some news back. After pondering in his room for a while, Xia Hong suddenly heard footsteps outside the door. Lord Hong, the leader requests your presence. All right, coming right away. Despite hosting a grand banquet for himself for 2 days, Hu hadn't shown up or summoned him. Finally, today he had come for him. Xia Hong collected his recently stabilized blood energy, subdued some of his flesh, and after ensuring everything was fine, only then opened the door and went out. Chapter 530, Chapter 234, Probing, Arrangements, and Hu's Confidence. The strength of Jie Yang, which challenges the status of Long Mountain, is beyond doubt. In the station, the primary materials used for the houses are surprisingly green stone and iron. The specific construction technique was to first set the foundational pillars, then pile large and small stones into the shape of the house, and finally melt the iron ore into slurry, quickly pouring and molding it before it's solidified. Houses built in this way have a layer of shiny black iron patterns on the exterior. While the aesthetics are secondary, the key feature is the astonishing defense capability. And the Zhejiang station not only has hundreds of such houses, but also a perimeter wall built in the same way, stretching for over 3,000 meters. Xia Hong walked towards the main building while carefully examining the stone in his hand. The stone was green in color, with clear black patterns inside. Xia Hong had to use a bit of force to crush it, but with a light pick along the black patterns using his nail, the stone immediately broke apart. Stones are everywhere, but ones this hard that can easily be broken along the patterns are hard to find. Plus, normal iron slurry solidifies too quickly for such perfect molding. There must be some additional special materials added in. Xia Hong looked up, gazing towards the north side of Zhejiang, where a massive frostrock wall, several thousand meters high, stretched from east to west, disappearing into the horizon. Just as the Great Xia Station is located on the west side of Twin Dragon Mountain, Zhejiang is situated on the northern edge of Pingxi Plain, and this rock wall marks the northern end of Pingxi Plain. The scale of Beiming Mountain looks larger than both Long Mountain and Twin Dragon Mountain, with the upper rock wall having ice crystals over 100 meters thick in places. This green stone is undoubtedly sourced from beneath the rock wall. After 2 days in Zhejiang, even without specifically seeking out information, Xia Hong had learned a lot about Zhejiang just by eavesdropping. Take from the mountains near the mountains, take from the waters near the waters. All camps in Ice Abyss, due to limited activity range, can only extract resources within limited space, hence the architecture is highly region-specific. Like Great Xia, which relies on Redwood Ridge, hence most structures are made of wood. And the previous camps in Huayuan, due to many caves, built most stations inside the caves, using both wood and iron materials to stabilize cave structures. Beehive took a more direct approach, building the station underground because the plains are unsafe. Xia Hong crushed the green stone in his hand firmly, noting its defensive capability was stronger than pure iron, and his expression changed as he gazed at Beiming Mountain. Clearly, whether it's other camps or the architecture of Great Xia, none could match Zhejiang's houses built with green stones and iron slurry in defense capability. There are no signs of cold beast activity by the rock wall, making Zhejiang's rear essentially safe. With 3,000 meters of circular green iron walls guarding the front and interiors with such strong structures, it's easy to fend off typical cold beast tides. Factoring in their cold resistance level and earth-digging realm, it's no wonder they're able to challenge Long Mountain. Their strength is indeed formidable. Ping Valley Beiming Mountain, Greenstone Iron House. These things are certainly important, but at most only broaden Xia Hong's knowledge. The focus of his eavesdropping these past 2 days was undoubtedly on the information about Zhejiang Camp's strength revealed during exchanges among people. The house he stayed in was right beside the main building, and the people coming and going nearby were mostly middle to high-ranking officials of Zhejiang. So, after 2 days of eavesdropping, he actually learned quite a bit. The number of cold resistance level individuals is likely about 20, over 5,000 in the earth-digging realm, and more than 20,000 in the logging realm, with the total camp population being approximately 60,000, nearly equal to Long Mountain. If Hu remains patient and develops further, surpassing Long Mountain should only be a matter of time. While Xia Hong pondered, he was already inside the main building, and the person who had just notified him quickly welcomed him and led him to the second floor of the main building. Located in Ping Valley, Zhejiang is adjacent to Beiming Mountain, similarly situated to Jing Valley, in a sudden sunken valley with its main building at the northernmost depth by the rock wall of Beiming Mountain. It's square-shaped, though only 2 floors high. It spans over 300 meters long and 20 meters high, larger than Great Xia's main building. Furthermore, the main building's walls are over 3 meters thick, similar to the outer wall's thickness, presumably providing extremely strong defense. Sir, I cannot go further here. You can proceed alone, please. Thank you very much. At the entrance of the second-floor main hall, Xia Hong thanked the guide and then strode inside, immediately scanning the 15 people seated, before slowly making his way forward. Among the 8 cold resistance levels sent to Long Mountain, Hu Hua, who is leading the Blood Guard army, and Hu Tong are not present, while the other 6 are here. Among the other 9 people, 7 are unfamiliar to me. Judging by their attire, they should be from Zhejiang. The two with slightly different clothing are Bai Qiacheng from White Abyss and Dong Zhang from Donking Camp. They've come too. After spending 2 days in Jieyang without actively meeting anyone, and who had not approached him in these 2 days, Xia Hong didn't know many people. However, he recognized Bai Qiacheng and Dong Zhang, who were seated in the front row, having spied on them earlier, so aside from the 6 he had seen before, only 7 people in the hall were unknown to him. Chapter 531, Chapter 234, Probing, Arrangements and Who's Confidence, Part 2. Xia Hong had just swept his gaze over the people in the hall when Who, on the main seat personally, came to greet him. "Brother Hong, come, sit next to me." Not only Who, but all the other 15 people in the hall also stood up, cupped their hands slightly towards Xia Hong, with a trace of respect in their eyes. In the ice abyss, the strong are revered. Evidently, the strength Xia Hong displayed when he fought Li Tiancheng that night had already earned him the respect of these people. With a good-natured smile on his face, Xia Hong saw Who placing an identical chair beside the main seat and signaling for him to sit. He first put away his smile and then slowly revealed a hint of anger. "Brother Hu, what is the meaning of this?" Who clearly noticed the anger in Xia Hong's eyes, yet he still feigned ignorance and asked, "Jieyang has always respected the strong. Brother Hong's strength is no less than mine, so you should sit as my equal. Why do you refuse?" "Xia, am willing to stay in Jieyang for 2 reasons. Firstly, I cannot stand the tyrannical behavior of Long Mountain. Secondly, I am moved by Brother Hu's righteous act of raising an army against Long Mountain. Because of these 2 reasons, I decided to stay and help Brother Hu overthrow Long Mountain, seeking justice for the countless humans living in Longyu land." Xia Hong paused after speaking, slightly brewing his emotions, and angrily retorted, "Not to mention, I have no interest in staying in Jieyang. Could it be that Brother Hu thinks I care so much about something as trivial as seating order?" Hearing Xia Hong's words, the confusion on Who's face quickly turned into joy, but noticing that Xia Hong's anger had not subsided, he immediately concealed his happiness, looked apprehensive and tapped his forehead, apologizing. "Brother Hong's sincerity and righteousness, it is my small-mindedness. I implore Brother Hong to quell your anger. The seating is indeed based on strength. If you don't sit, how can I sit there?" "Brother Hu need not say more. You are the leader of Jieyang, the host. I am but a guest in Jieyang. Moreover, dealing with Long Mountain, Jieyang takes the lead with other camps as support. I am alone, cannot contribute much strength. How can my seat be ahead of the host's? Just find me any spot." Within Who's eyes, a deeper smile emerged, but on the surface he kept waving his hand earnestly and said, "Brother Hong, though you are alone, your strength is astonishing. You can even push back Li Tiancheng. Dealing with Long Mountain, we must rely more on Brother Hong. How can you say you cannot contribute much strength?" He pondered for a moment, signaled to a person on the left and said, "How about this? I'll have Hu Quan give up his seat and Brother Hong can sit there first. How about it?" "Then I would be remiss to refuse." Xia Hong did not continue the performance. Seeing the person on the left's foremost position give up their seat, he simply nodded and walked over, sitting down heavily. After being ignored for 2 days, upon meeting again, this Who actually first tested him. Xia Hong couldn't help but feel a bit surprised, but after thinking for a moment, he felt Who's actions were reasonable. The strength he showed when forcing back Li Tiancheng that night was not weaker than Who's. If Who wasn't wary of him at all, that would be strange. Just using such a simple way to test by offering a seat, it seemed that the way he acted as unscheming and easy to manipulate on the way back from Long Mountain, Who believed it. Xia Hong was almost certain that if he had accepted that seat, someone below would have objected, followed by Who scolding them. Then they would present a pile of reasons, and in the end, he would have no choice but to accept. Not to mention Who's domineering nature, no camp leader would allow someone to sit on equal footing with them. Even if they agreed, their subordinates wouldn't. This is the characteristic of the Ice Abyss camp, especially for such a powerful camp as Jieyang. Among the 15 people in the hall, except for the leaders of the Bai Qiacheng and Dong Zhang camps, the other 13 were of cold resistance level from Jieyang. The way they looked at Who was identical to how great Xia people looked at him. How could Xia Hong not understand? Thus, this was Who's test, probing whether he might harbor ambitions due to his strength, to adjust his plans for him in the upcoming battles accordingly. It's probably like this. Since he passed the test, now his role should be arranged more boldly. Xia Hong's eyes flickered slightly. Looking at the bland fruit platter on the table, he pouted slightly. Though Zhejiang is strong, their resources can't compare to those of the great Xia. Tonight, there are leaders from 2 camps, and all the cold resistance levels staying in Zhejiang's camp are here. In such an important occasion, there are just 2 fruit platters on the table. The blood-cold wine and aged wine I brought along are finished, and my mouth is dry. I have to find a way to restock at the base. While Xia Hong berated the scarcity of Zhejiang's resources, Hu on the main seat was beaming with the perfect result of this test. His gaze toward Xia Hong grew with utmost satisfaction. The battle with Li Tiancheng on the 14th gave me profound insights, so I went into seclusion as soon as I returned to the camp. I've been out for 2 days. Did you complete the tasks I arranged? As soon as Hu spoke, the 15 people below all brightened slightly, immediately sitting up straight, all turning their heads with respectful expressions to look at him. This scene made Xia Hong's expression slightly focused. There was nothing notable about the other 13, mostly concerning Bai Qiacheng and Dongzhang. The deference shown by these 2 camp leaders towards Hu implied significant meaning. Chapter 532, Chapter 234, Probing, Arrangements and Hu's Confidence Part 3. This doesn't just seem like leaning towards Zhejiang, it's more like preparing to completely join Zhejiang. Dongkeng is on the right side, White Abyss to the northwest. Both are adjacent to Zhejiang, so merging fully isn't surprising. However, this way, Zhejiang's power is growing stronger. Xia Hong's gaze was slightly heavy as he continued listening to Hu's conversation with the others. Hu Quan, who had just given up his seat for Xia Hong, stood up at this moment and cupped his hands, saying, "Leader, 2 days ago, I separately dispatched 8 people to Longyu's 8 camps to deliver the news that Li Tianhua was no longer in Long Mountain. The news should have spread by now. The people sent to report to Changning and Song Yuan have returned. According to them, Longyu troops are patrolling everywhere within these 2 territories, which should be under Long Mountain's control. The person who went to Yucheng has also returned. They didn't even make it into Yucheng's base and couldn't find anyone from Yucheng, so it remains unclear what the situation is." Upon hearing this final piece of news, Hu's expression slightly tensed, but then he chuckled a couple of times and spoke coldly. "Yan Chuan must have encountered some trouble. Since Long Mountain wants to take preemptive action, they would undoubtedly first target such double-dealing individuals. Yucheng, Changning, and Song Yuan have all been taken by Long Mountain. With the common people from these 3 families, they control the earth-digging realm by at least 5,000 more. Their actions this time are quite swift indeed." Xia Hong's brow slightly twitched, marveling at Hu's keen insight. He had personally seen Yan Chuan's corpse, yet Hu could deduce from just this information that Yan Chuan had encountered trouble and that Yucheng had fallen to Long Mountain. This was indeed not simple. Hu Quan nodded in agreement and then spoke again. "Has Li Chuanyan wised up? He doesn't have the brains to act so decisively. I reckon Li Tiancheng personally took charge. They didn't just take these 3, right? What else is going on? Tell me everything." When mentioning Li Chuanyan, Hu's tone was full of disdain, declaring outright that he couldn't have done these deeds, clearly indicating his familiarity with him. Another person stepped out from behind Hu Quan, cupped his fists and said, "Wuxuang and Hankyang have already captured Yang Lu as promised. Our spies have relayed from Wuxuang that Wuxing and Han Jiulai with a large force are stationed in Yang Lu, waiting for Hu Ming from Beehive to finish. The forces of the 4, Wuxuang, Hankyang, Beehive, and Yang Lu, will join together, completely liberating the southeast of Longyu from Long Mountain's control." "Good." Hu was visibly excited, standing up immediately and shifting his gaze towards Bai Qiacheng, speaking in a deep tone. "You said that Long Mountain's army is currently partially stationed to your west, cutting off the major road between Xiling and you. The other part is stationed in the south, preventing large numbers of your people from going south and also hindering your uniting with us in Zhejiang. Is that correct?" Bai Qiacheng stood up, bowed, and nodded. "Indeed, the numbers of the Longyu troops are somewhat unusual. Long Mountain must have utilized Longyu troops to take Yucheng, Changning, and Song Yuan so swiftly. However, among the 2,000 men stationed to our west, half are Longyu troops judging by their attire, and the 2,000 men in the south are the same. How could Long Mountain have this many? Li Tianhua always likes to keep a hidden hand in whatever he does. There have always been more than 1,000 Longyu troops. I knew this from before, although to have this many is somewhat beyond my expectations." Hu Hu's brow showed a hint of pressure, and then he sneered. Blocking the major roads to prevent large-scale personnel exchanges between us is because they're afraid of us uniting. Among over 4,000 troops, even if I assume there are 2,000 Longyu troops, wanting to seal off all the major roads between 6 camps is somewhat naive. He pondered for a moment, turning to ask Hu Quan, is the 1,000 Blood Guard army of Hu Hua already stationed at the White Abyss camp? Hu Quan cupped his hands and nodded vigorously, expression full of vigor. Instruct them to await orders there. I will arrive immediately. Besides. Hu Hu turned his gaze toward Xia Hong, who had been quietly listening, and with a hint of a smile in his voice, he spoke. Brother Hong, I must trouble you. Brother Hu, please speak directly. Feeling he was finally being assigned a task, Xia Hong immediately stood up and cupped his fists in salute, giving Hu Hu ample face. Brother Hong, there's no need for such. Hu Hu raised his hand slightly to indicate that he did not need to be so formal, then continued. Zhejiang has 1,500 people stationed at the Hankyang camp, currently led by Hu Tong. Please go to Hankyang and assist Hu Tong, preferably breaking Long Mountain's blockade of the south of White Abyss. If you can't breach it, at least hold them up and prevent them from interfering with the battle on this side. How about it? He intended to personally lead the Blood Guard army to deal with the Longshan garrison on the west of White Abyss. Xia Hong himself was to help Hu Tong hold up the southern Longshan garrison of White Abyss. All right, I will do my utmost. Xia Hong immediately grasped Hu Hu's strategy and agreed without hesitation. While Xia Hong had not personally faced the Longyu and Blood Guard armies, he had observed their battles. Not only did individuals possess strength exceeding 20,000 pounds, but they were also equipped with special weapons, and their combat prowess far surpassed that of ordinary camp hunting team members. A formidable army like this, numbering even in the hundreds, could threaten the cold resistance level, which was why Hu Hu had frenziedly fled towards the Blood Guard army when being pursued by Li Tiancheng that night. In such an army, Long Mountain didn't have just 1,000. Even Zhejiang had only 1,000 Blood Guard army. To instruct him to hold back the southern front, was Hu Hu truly confident that he could defeat the Longshan army in the west? Xia Hong's expression flickered slightly as he looked at Hu Hu, who was still assigning tasks. A strong curiosity arose in his heart. Chapter 533, Chapter 235, The Might of the Longyu Army, Yang Lu's Desperate Plight. On the night of April 14, Xia Hong indeed personally witnessed the Longyu army in action. The problem was, on that night, the Longyu army's opponent was the Blood Guard army, which was on par with them in strength. Therefore, strictly speaking, he had not yet personally experienced the vast difference between a team formed by hunting team members and a true professional army. But at this very moment, far away in Yanglu, Yuan Dao was definitely experiencing it firsthand. The disparity between the two was immense. This enormous gap could simply be described as worlds apart. Year 48 of Longyu, April 17, 4 hours before dawn. Washuang and Hankyang's rebellion prepare to die. Brothers start the slaughter. A bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs, dreaming of challenging Long Mountain, kill them. Charge. In the north of Yangyuan Peak, over a deep ditch, dozens of planks have already been laid. Hundreds of soldiers in black armor had long since surged over the planks onto this side of the mound, trampling over the hundreds of corpses on the ground, roaring as they charged towards the top of the mound. Judging by more than half of the planks being destroyed, and the hundreds of corpses lying on the ground on this side of the mound, it was evident the battle had been ongoing for a while. We can't retreat any further, brothers, hold on. If we let the Longyu army charge up, we'll all die. Just hold on a little longer. Support from the south is coming soon. Wu Ying slashed through multiple incoming iron arrows with a single strike, only turning back to angrily shout at the retreating crowd behind him. But before he could even finish his words, a volley of arrows rained down upon his head, forcibly shutting him up. He drew his sword and swung rapidly, successfully cutting through the arrow rain, sustaining only 3 negligible arrow wounds, but he was directly surrounded by the rapidly approaching Longyu army below. Even more critically, the retreat of the crowd behind him continued unabated. Over 1,000 thinking they can stop 500 Longyu soldiers, naive wishful thinking. Since you want to watch both ends, then let's make sure you can't watch either. From the group of Longyu soldiers encircling Wu Ying, a middle-aged man in white wielding a snake spear suddenly charged out, none other than Li Chuanxiang, who had fled in haste earlier in the night. Li Chuanxiang's expression was stern, his gaze at Wu Ying filled with killing intent, as his snake spear directly flicked away several Wushwang individuals along the way, hooking straight towards Wu Ying. Swoosh! A substantial snake spear brought a flicker of fire in the air. Seeing the power of this strike from Li Chuanxiang, Wu Ying had no intention of taking it head-on, dodging to the side, but how could his speed compare to Li Chuanxiang's? First take some interest for he too die. Li Chuanxiang's voice was filled with rage. As strong as Long Mountain, the number of cold resistance level individuals was extremely limited. Earlier that night he too had sacrificed himself to enable Li Chuanxiang's escape, being jointly slain by Wuxing and Han Jiulai. Such a deep hatred, how could he not seek revenge? The moment he returned to Yucheng, he immediately gathered 500 Longyu soldiers, along with over 1,000 earth-digging realm individuals held under control in Yucheng, and directly attacked Yangyuan Peak. He too's death enraged Li Chuanxiang, but it did not cloud his judgment. The attack on Yangyuan Peak, which appeared hasty and reckless, was actually within his plans. And without surprises, the success rate was quite high. He had already figured out how many were at Yangyuan Peak. Wushwang and Hankyang combined had just over 1,400 people. Yanglu itself only had over 600 earth-digging realm individuals, for a total just over 2,000. Cold resistance level, currently only Wuxing, Han Jiulai, Wu Ying, Wu Lin, and Jieyang's Lin Yi, totaling 5, the strongest being 7 mained, not a concern. Such little power couldn't possibly be a match for 500 Longyu soldiers. Once the terrain advantage of Yangyuan Peak was eliminated, Yanglu camp would be within easy reach. The subsequent developments didn't differ much from his plan. It took him just an hour to bring his men from Yucheng to Yangyuan Peak, solving the troubles around Yangyuan Peak's exterior ditches in less than half an hour. The Longyu soldiers crossed the ditch, already routing the northern defenders, and next, they only needed to bypass to the south. And with the cooperation from inside with the team led by Cheng Guang and Yue Kaiyan, they could easily defeat the southern defenders, and Yanglu camp wouldn't escape. It seemed slow when explained, but these were just a thought's work for Li Chuanxiang. Wu Ying had neither the speed nor strength to rival him, especially when surrounded by Longyu soldiers. He had no space to escape. The snake spear plunged fiercely into Wu Ying's shoulder. Li Chuanxiang, taking advantage, lifted Wu Ying directly with a powerful arm, then withdrew the snake spear, drawing a dazzling long blade in the air, suddenly striking towards Wu Ying's neck. Clang! I knew you'd be here too, don't worry, none of you will escape. A broadsword came from the side, merely causing the snake spear to deviate slightly. Li Chuanxiang, as if already expecting this, gripped the snake spear tightly with both hands, forcibly leveraging the broadsword, continuing to slash towards Wu Ying's neck. Clad in black, Yuan Dao, seeing that he couldn't halt the snake spear, his face changed dramatically as he exerted his strength once more, trying to advance. But in the next second, perceiving a blade tip thrusting from behind, his eyes twitched violently, retreating backwards with sudden swiftness, retrieving his broadsword to block the rear. Swishing! The broadsword blocked the point of the sword from behind. A huge force propelled Yuan Dao's body forward over 10 meters, turning his head to see a slim man clad in iron armor with a sharp sword in hand, staring at him intently. Song Kang, hold him off, I'll help after I've killed Wu Ying. Yet another cold resistance level of 6 manes, the masters of Long Mountain, truly are numerous. Yuan Dao sighed inwardly while seeing a large mass of Longyu soldiers bypassing the mound, charging southward. His heart raced, temporarily forgetting about Wu Ying. Chapter 534, Chapter 235, The Might of the Longyu Army, Yang Lu's Desperate Situation, Part 2. The 1,000 people on the south side are led by 2 cold resistance levels. Han Jiulai and Wuxing cannot hold out against them. If these 500 Longyu troops press forward again, Yangyuan Peak will certainly fall. They cannot even last a night. The strength of these Longyu troops is simply too formidable. Yuan Dao watched the Longyu troops break the enemy formation, noticing the 100-forged silver patterns on their black armor and weapons, and the force of their arrows exceeding 30,000 caddies. His shock was apparent on his face. As he had anticipated earlier, after their group of 5 killed he too, Li Chuanxiang would not rest easy. Sure enough, by the latter half of the night, Li Chuanxiang, who had not been gone for long, came back with 500 Longyu troops, along with over 1,000 earth-digging realm, directly attacking Yangyuan Peak. Li Xuanxiang did not attack rashly, but dispatched 2 cold resistance levels to lead over 1,000 earth-digging realm from the southern suspension bridge position. Han Jialai and Wu Xing, knowing he had backup, split half of their forces to defend the south, while Yuan Dao and Wu Ying were tasked to patrol the surroundings, guarding against Li Xuanxiang leading troops from other positions. Indeed, on the north side, they discovered 500 Longyu troops setting up planks. Originally, as per Yuan Dao's plan, he and Wu Ying, 2 cold resistance levels, leading over 1,000 earth-digging realm, would guard this side of the ravine. If they could find a way to destroy all the planks, preventing the enemy from crossing, or allow some to cross while harassing them with arrows, not to say defeating the Longyu troops, they should be able to hold out. But the fact proved him gravely mistaken. With just 1 volley of arrows, the Longyu troops crushed the defenders on this side. Then Li Xuanxiang personally crossed the ravine, using sheer strength to protect a plank connecting the 2 sides, successfully allowing 50 to 60 Longyu troops to cross. Afterward, Li Xuanxiang led these 50 to 60 troops, forcibly tearing open the defense formed by over 1,000 earth-digging realm, also disrupting their arrow formation, rendering all planks effective, allowing the remaining over 400 Longyu troops to swarm across. This crossing marked the beginning of the retreat. Before encountering Li Xuanxiang, Wu Xing and Han Jialai were cautious. The 1,000 men they took to defend the south consisted of only over 400 from their own camp. The remaining over 600 were all earth-digging realms controlled by Yang Lu, whose combat will was certainly low. But the situation on the north side was different. The 1,000 earth-digging realm all came from the camps of Wushuang and Hanqiang. Their combat will should be unquestionable. Yet even so, after the Longyu troops crossed the ravine, they could not hold out against just 1 wave, collapsing entirely after just over 10 minutes. At the front of the battlefield, a Longyu soldier drew a strong bow, shooting an iron arrow that pierced through 2 earth-digging realm defenders. Then, while sprinting forward, he slung the bow behind him, drew a large blade and caught up with an earth-digging realm, killing him with a single blow. The whole sequence was clean and swift, without any hesitation. Their basic strength is all above 30,000 caddies. The pull of their iron core bow is at least 30 stones, coupled with 100 forged iron armor and 100 forged weapons. Not only their personal cultivation, but their equipment is far superior to these ordinary earth-digging realm. Furthermore, their combat ability is vastly superior too. On average, a single Longyu soldier can handle 3 to 5 enemies alone. When the army presses the formation, not to mention 3 to 5 times, even facing 10 times their number, they probably wouldn't flinch. No wonder Wu Xing and Han Jialai were so afraid before. The strength of this Longyu army is truly overpowering. Even if the great Xia's 1,000-man army comes, the outcome is not likely to be any better. This is the Longyu troops. Yuan Dao's heart was overwhelmed with shock, unable to calm down for a long time. Only upon experiencing the true strength of the Longyu troops did he realize how terrifying the gap was between a regular camp's hunting team and a real army. The intermediate hunting team of Great Xia currently has strict criteria for selection, yet the standard for their basic strength is only 15,000 caddies. The rate of 100 forged weapon equipping is only about 60%, not to mention 100 forged armor, which aside from cold resistance level, only a very few who are relatively affluent can wear it. As for combat ability, it might be slightly stronger than that of Wushuang and Hanqiang, but comparing them to the Longyu troops highlights the obvious gap. Without reinforcements, relying on Wu Xing and Han Jialai alone, Yangyuan Peak can't be defended. Minister's plans are likely to fall through. I must find a way to retreat, otherwise, if encircled by Longyu troops, I won't escape unscathed even if I survive. The previously encircled Wu Ying was now threatened with danger by Li Xuanxiang leading over 100 Longyu troops, perilously close to death. Facing Song Kang, who was staring him down, Yuan Dao felt even more inclined to retreat. As soon as Li Xuanxiang kills Wu Ying, he will immediately team up with Song Kang to kill him. He certainly won't wait here foolishly. It's not that easy to run now. Almost the moment Yuan Dao retreated, Song Kang moved. Evidently, he's not only preventing Yuan Dao from rescuing Wu Ying, but also preventing him from fleeing. The sword blade whistled forth, almost instantly reaching Yuan Dao's back, the fierce force sweeping up the snow on the ground, evidencing the power of this strike. With you trying to stop me. Yuan Dao sneered coldly. Though his strength after breaking through was just 5 manes, accounting for the holy pattern's 30% increase. It equates to 7 main power. Song Kang's 6 main strength attempting to forcefully keep him is undoubtedly a fool's dream. Chapter 535. Chapter 235. The Might of the Longyu Army, Yang Lu's Desperate Situation, Part 3. He hesitated slightly, then swung his broad sword across the air in front of him. Using the force of its collision with Song Kang's longsword, he suddenly propelled himself forward, fleeing directly to the east side of the hillock. Swish, swish, swish. However, before he could escape more than 10 meters, a dense rain of arrows suddenly came from the south. Caught off guard, Yuan Dao was hit by 2 arrows in his arm. Relying on me alone, it's naturally impossible. Hearing Song Kang's scornful laughter by his ear, Yuan Dao painfully yanked out the 2 iron arrows from his arm. Seeing blood spurting from his wounds, he immediately took out a handful of golden sore powder from his bosom and applied it to the wounds before turning to look south, his face suddenly turning grim. The Longyu army Li Xuanxiang brought over numbered about 500, and when they rushed past the ravine just now, the casualties were almost 0, causing the 1,000 or so troops stationed on this side of the hillock to completely collapse, losing at most 20 people. Of the more than 400 left, only a few dozen were assisting Li Xuanxiang in encircling and killing Wu Ying. The remaining 400 had all originally detoured to the south side. But at this moment, another 100 or so had returned from that direction. Moreover, after using bows and arrows to pin down Yuan Dao, this group immediately charged over, dispersing to encircle him directly. To still send over 100 people, it seems the south side has also been breached. While Yuan Dao's face was grim, he turned his head and noticed that the sounds of battle from the hillock had already spread to the outskirts of the Yangluo base, deepening his anxiety. The strength of the Longyu army really is too strong. If we don't notify the officer in time and recklessly engage them later, the camp is going to suffer great losses. From the appearance of the decoy forces on the south side, to the Longyu army breaching Yangyuan Peak and reaching the outskirts of the Yangluo base, the whole process took less than 2 hours. Bear in mind, Wuxing and Han Jialai had a full 2,000 guards at their disposal, coupled with the easily defensible terrain of Yangyuan Peak. 2 hours. The time alone is astonishing, but crucially, the casualties of the Longyu army were not significant. Based on Yuan Dao's own rough assessment, just now on the north side, they at most lost about 20 men, almost all overwhelmed by the defending army here, ultimately dying due to sheer numbers. Li Xuanxiang had already deployed over 1,000 earth-digging realm as a decoy on the south side, and the 400 Longyu troops that just passed were under less pressure than on this side, so their casualties were likely negligible too. The pressure these nearly 500 Longyu troops exert on Beehive after taking Yangluo is immense. Currently, only he knows. At all costs, he must get the message back. Yuan Dao's gaze gradually firmed. Though he had joined Great Xia for only a year, within this year, he had gained and improved more than in the past decade. Therefore, his sense of belonging to Great Xia was immensely strong. This sense of belonging naturally placed the interests of Great Xia above all else, even beyond his own life and death. So when surrounded by over 100 Longyu soldiers and Song Kang at this moment, his first reaction was not to consider his own life and death, but Great Xia's subsequent response. In the distance, a miserable scream from Wu Ying reached him. Driven by the sound, Yuan Dao acted without hesitation, fleeing madly to the east. If Wu Ying were to die, Li Xuanxiang would be free to act, adding Song Kang and 100 Longyu soldiers, and he would truly have no chance of escape. He must seize this last opportunity. Shoot quickly. Song Kang clearly hadn't expected Yuan Dao to be so decisive, but he reacted swiftly, chasing as he loudly ordered the Longyu troops to shoot arrows to intercept. Swish, swish, swish. The Longyu army's combat proficiency was extremely high. Upon hearing the command, they immediately launched a rain of arrows, blocking Yuan Dao's eastern escape route, forcing him no choice but to escape to the southern edge of the Yangluo base, atop the hillock. Song Kang chased closely with his sword, and before a few breaths had passed, Li Xuanxiang was already gripping ahead, swiftly surpassing him. Zheang Lin Yi, it's your turn, die now. Li Xuanxiang, holding Wu Ying's head in his left hand and a spear in his right, took several large strides to catch up to Yuan Dao ahead. With a furious roar, he thrust his spear at Yuan Dao's back, sending a snow fog more than 10 meters wide sweeping out. Whoosh! The spearhead was so fast, it sparked against the air, evaporating the surrounding snow fog into a swift dagger, piercing through Yuan Dao's back rapidly. Whoosh! Yuan Dao, already in a sprinting posture, flew forward several dozen meters, crashing directly into the wall of a building on the outskirts of the Yangluo base, collapsing 2 houses before stopping. Yuan Dao stood up from the rubble, spat out a mouthful of reverse blood, his face pale, and seeing the wound torn open in his chest, he immediately took out a Dan medicine and popped it into his mouth. With the Dan medicine in his stomach, the ghastly pale complexion instantly improved somewhat, and the blood gushing from the chest wound immediately clotted. Fortunately, there was the blood sore pill, otherwise I would have been dead. A hint of relief flashed on Yuan Dao's face. Realizing that Li Xuanqiang was still relentlessly pursuing him, he immediately got up to flee further inward. Want to escape dreaming? Li Xuanqiang's angry shout came like a nightmare, and that terrifying snake spear attacked from behind once more, leaving Yuan Dao truly in despair. Swish, swish, swish. However, at this moment, a wave of arrows flew from both sides of the buildings, forcibly stopping Li Xuanqiang. Brother Lin, come in quickly. Wuxiang's voice at this moment was like a heavenly music to Yuan Dao. He looked up to see Wuxiang, Han Jiulai, and Wu Lin quickly getting up to run to their side. 500? How could there be 500 Longyu soldiers coming over? The Long Mountain's total is only 1,000 Longyu soldiers. They sent half over. Aren't they dealing with Hu? The 1,000 earth-digging realm on the south side all belong to Yucheng. So many of them came. We can't hold them at all, can't hold them. We must send someone to notify Hu. Let him send reinforcements, otherwise all of us will die. The 3 had panicked expressions, faces full of fear, no longer brimming with the high spirits they had when they seized Yangluo and drove away Li Xuanqiang, only nodding and shivering while insisting that Hu be notified to send reinforcements quickly. They had been beaten senseless. It seemed that even these camps in Longyu did not fully know the strength of Long Mountain. They all knew the Longyu army was formidable, but not to such an extent, clearly exceeding their expectations. Where's Wu Ying, Brother Lin? Wuxing, recalling something, opened his mouth to inquire from Yuan Dao. Yuan Dao just wanted to answer when a head flew over from the north. Here's the person, catch. Li Xuanqiang's cold laughter echoed as he and over 400 Longyu soldiers, along with about 700 earth-digging realm from Yucheng, had regrouped behind him. Yue Kaiyan, Song Kang, Cheng Guang, the 3 cold resistance levels stood behind him. Yuan Dao clutched his chest, looked around at the remaining people on their side, roughly counting less than 900, his face darkening by several shades. He had personally participated in the battle on the north side just now. The strength of the 500 Longyu soldiers does not need saying. Wu Ying's 1,000 men almost fell apart at the first clash, nearly surrounded with 300 casualties, not even making it to half. But now there were only a little over 800 people left here. Meaning that just now, the battle on the south side had over 1,000, with just over 200 remaining in the end. This was exactly as Li Xuanqiang predicted, trying to take care of both ends but accomplishing nothing. Even with reinforcements, it would be a long time before they arrived, and the end result was inevitable. Aren't you courageous? Face it, face all ends, but in the end, unable to handle even one, even if reinforcements come. It's impossible in a short while and this is over. Just killing a Wu Ying was clearly not enough to extinguish Li Xuanqiang's fury. Rush forward. He shouted angrily and rudely laughed a few times, raising his snake spear and pointing it directly at Wuxiang. The first wave of arrows from the Longyu army came in, and the earth-digging realm of Yucheng followed closely, beginning to press and close inwards. Chapter 536, Chapter 236, White Dugu despairing Yuan Dao Yanglu. After all, Yanglu is a giant camp, with a population of just over 30,000. 6 days ago, the Wushuang and Hankyang families joined forces to capture Yangyuan Peak, killing almost 3,000 people in total. This number is certainly not small, but compared to the total population, it's only a tenth. The annexation between camps, at the end of the day, is all about territory and population. This principle is naturally understood by Wuxiang and Han Jiulai. So if they can avoid killing, it's best not to kill. Of course, not killing doesn't mean letting things be. Firstly, there are many in the camp who are absolutely loyal to leader Peng Bo. If these people are allowed to incite a large-scale riot among the captives in secret, the cost of cleanup would be significant. Secondly, Yang Lu still has over 600 Earth-digging realm captives. In the short term, to make these people work, helping to fend off Li Xuanxiang's forces, there's no other way than threatening their families' lives. Therefore, after capturing Yangyuan Peak, Wu Xing and Han Jiulai detained all the remaining people of Yang Lu in batches and assigned dedicated guards. The families of the Earth-digging realm, a total of over 2,000 people, were most strictly guarded. Next were over 3,000 logging realm and their families, more than 9,000 people. The remaining 13,000 were all ordinary people. These three groups were separately detained inside 2 mine tunnels on the inner side of Yangyuan Peak, and in a large wooden house used for gatherings at the center of Yangluo Base. In the large wooden house, over 2,000 family members of the 600 Earth-digging realm captives were all looking outside the house mournfully, filled with suffocation and unease. The battle that happened tonight started early around the ditches and gorges by the mound. Even if Li Xuanxiang has brought his men up now, the battlefield remains limited to the surroundings of Yangluo Base's buildings. Though it hasn't affected the internal personnel, the earth-shaking battle sounds had already reached this wooden house. Everyone knows their family outside is risking their lives for Wushwang and Hankyang, driven by a hostage crisis. Who wouldn't feel stifled? The problem is, being stifled is helpless. The situation is stronger than them. Among these over 2,000 people, most are just ordinary people. On the second floor of the wooden house, over 100 earth-digging realm holding strong bows are staring at them menacingly. It's not that they haven't resisted before. They launched 2 riots already, but both were bloodily suppressed. Their sense of suffocation and fear grew simultaneously. No wonder they felt so desperate at the moment. However, today, the situation seemed noticeably different. Within the crowd, a small group of active-eyed people exchanged subtle movements, clearly whispering information to each other. The commotion is quite big. It seems to have already reached the base's periphery. It must be Long Mountain's people attacking. The guards on the second floor seem a bit distracted. Definitely, they've been glancing south on purpose. It must be that Long Mountain's people are about to break in. My dad is still serving them. If Long Mountain breaks through, we'll all be considered criminals, won't we? We can't just sit there and wait to die. Before Long Mountain breaks in, if we rush out, even if for merit, perhaps Long Mountain might pardon my brother's crime. Exactly, the sounds are getting closer, let's try again. Quietly inform the others, one more rush. Okay, I'll go right now. These family members of the earth-digging realm, due to their broader knowledge, had their own judgment on the situation. Realizing that the fierce battle sounds from the outside were getting closer to the base, their thoughts started to become active. After several breaths, following the whispered exchanges, the gazes of most of the young men in the crowd turned sullen, often looking up at the guards on the second floor, clearly receiving the message of a mutiny. Brothers, our family is fighting outside. We can't just wait here and die. Break through the wooden house to help Long Mountain suppress the rebellion. Maybe we can find a way out for our family, and ourselves charge. A sudden roar echoed from the back of the crowd. The crowd, which had been whispering earlier, suddenly gathered followers. Exactly, brothers, break through and there's a way out. Charge. Help Long Mountain suppress the rebellion. Knock down the wooden wall with me. PFD, PFD. Anyone who dares to move again will die. As soon as the first voice sounded, the guards on the second floor began shooting arrows at the mutineers, quickly shouting stern warnings. But this uprising was clearly much more serious than the previous 2. At a glance, almost 80% of the people in the house stood up, crazily crashing into the wooden house walls, even involving some clueless women and children, causing the whole wooden house to wobble, making it hard for the second-floor guards shooting arrows to stand. Stubborn fools, attempting it a third time, half of you come down with me, the rest continue shooting on the second floor. I want to see how tough they are. Seeing the hostages below start mutinying again, Wu Ming, an archer on the second floor, was instantly engulfed in rage. After shooting a youth crashing into the wall, he immediately ordered all his men on the second floor in a stern voice. His uncle Wu Xing had entrusted him with the heavy responsibility of guarding the hostages, so Wu Ming dared not slack off at all. Even knowing that external events weren't favorable, he understood the importance of these 2,000 hostages. The more unfavorable the external events, the more he had to control this group of hostages. If any issue arises, the 600 earth-digging realm of Yang Lu would immediately rebel, further complicating the external situation. Therefore, facing the third uprising of the hostages, he no longer had any hesitation, directly jumping down with everyone to start the bloody suppression. Chapter 537, Chapter 236, White Du Gu despairing Yuan Dao Yanglu. Divide into 4 teams, attack from 4 directions, don't let them keep hitting the wall. Wu Ming stayed with more than 10 people on the south side, directly facing the wall, swinging his knife to kill those still charging at the wall. With his basic strength of 30,000 pounds, the ease of killing a group of people no stronger than the logging realm was obvious. His long knife struck repeatedly, almost killing one person with each blow, and within moments he had slaughtered over a dozen people. The dozen or so people with him were also from the earth-digging realm. Although they weren't as fast at killing as he was, they were indiscriminate, not caring who approached, whether young or old, man or woman. They swung their butcher's knives right away, slaughtering many in mere moments. This was just one direction. The other 3 directions, together with 30 people following his orders, began a mad massacre. The 50 people on the second floor, wielding strong bows, also began a reckless shooting spree. Immediately under the eaves of the wooden house, corpses lay everywhere. Within only 10 minutes, at least 300 to 400 bodies piled up on the ground. Don't charge, everyone is dead. Hurry, retreat, retreat. I don't want to die, I can't break out, I don't want to die. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Ultimately, they were just a group of ordinary people, quickly intimidated by Wu Ming's over 100 earth-digging realms. The able-bodied, filled with hot blood, could forcibly hold their ground, but the elderly, women, and children couldn't. They began to cry out, too scared to charge forward anymore. Those more timid directly squatting down with their heads covered, even if dragged, they wouldn't budge, unafraid to take a step closer to the eaves. But Wu Ming's team was already bloodthirsty, and as there was no one charging towards the eaves, they directly raised their knives and charged into the middle, killing all the way. The cries inside the house shook the sky. The scene was bloody to the extreme. No one noticed that as the corpses on the ground increased, the sky gradually turned pale. On the surface of an old corpse in the corner of the wooden house, a white dew suddenly emerged. The dew appeared like a plague. After one appeared, it quickly spread across the corpse, soon covering all of the elderly's exposed skin, resembling water vapor condensing after temperature rises, with a touch of bizarre beauty, yet extremely eerie. It wasn't over yet. The speed of the dew spread was accelerating, quickly reaching the corpses beside the elderly, third, fourth. Within over 100 breaths, all the hundreds of corpses on the ground inside the wooden house were occupied by dew. Sizzle. The dew on the earliest old corpse seemed to have a high temperature. It first reddened, then emitted light smoke. Finally, with a zzz sound, the dew burst open, and inside a wisp of blue flame rose. Boom! The blue flame from the first burst dew instantly ignited the dew on the rest of the elderly's body. Then, with a boom, the blue flame instantly engulfed the elderly's corpse. The subsequent chain reaction occurred. Inside the wooden house, the corpses on the ground had all developed dew. 2 spread from 1, 3 from 2. Rumble! Blue flames shot into the sky, fiercely lighting up the entire house. If someone were outside, they would find the wooden house had completely turned blue, glowing with ethereal light in the dark night, terribly eerie. What kind of fire is this? Quick, look at them, what's that white dew on them? This fire can't be put out, can't extinguish, run, run. It's coming out on me too, white dew is appearing, run quickly. At the moment the flames burst, everyone inside the wooden house, whether the victim's side or Wu Ming's killers, all awakened. But their awakening was too late. The overwhelming blue flames had long ignited the entire wooden house. It's appearing on me too, help, help. Run, run, there's a problem with the dew. What's more deadly is, the speed of the dew spread was astonishingly fast. Just now it appeared only on corpses, now it's surfacing on living people too. Those who reacted quickly attempted to wipe off the dew growing on them, but not only did it not wipe off, instead, the more they wiped, the more it grew, soon covering their whole body. On the northern and southern trenches of Yangyuan Peak, where battles had previously occurred, many corpses lying on the ground started showing identical symptoms to those inside the wooden house. Just like the elderly corpse, the dew first heated up to red, then burst open. The first wisp of blue flame appeared, igniting the remaining dew, quickly engulfing corpse after corpse. Outside Yangluo base, the deafening battle sounds halted the moment the blue flames rose inside the wooden house. Li Xuanxiang and Wu Xing with Han Jiulai's teams all stared without blinking at the wooden house consumed by blue flames. Hearing the screams from inside, their expressions swiftly turned suspicious and uncertain. What is that? How did it suddenly catch fire? Is that a normal fire? Have you ever seen pure blue flames? Could it be? Li Xuanxiang scanned the surroundings of Yangyuan Peak, noticing blue flames rising both to the north and south. His eyes instantly focused, then swiftly realized something, quickly pulling out a jade pendant with silver edging from his bosom. The silver edging of the jade pendant was already scorching hot and gradually emitted a red glow. Run, something bizarre has come. Li Xuanxiang's expression instantly panicked beyond control, first shouting fiercely at the Longyu army in front, then quickly retreating, rapidly escaping towards the north. Run, run, run fast. Chapter 538, Chapter 236, White Du Gu, despairing Yuan Dao Yanglu. Wu Xing and Han Jiulai were startled by Li Xuanxiang's loud shout, but quickly reacted and swiftly took out their deception detection jade from their pocket. Their expressions instantly became identical to Li Xuanxiang's. The two groups of people who were just locked in combat saw their respective commanders fleeing and instantly panicked, quickly dispersing, a group to the north, another to the south, beginning to flee rapidly. Gu, this is trouble now. On the south side of the ravine, Yuan Dao noticed the white dew emerging gradually from the wound on his chest, sensed the dew heating up, and looked somewhat flustered, then quickly remembered something and immediately took out a piece of coagulated fire oil from his pocket, crushed it, and applied it over the wound. Sizzle! The rapidly heating white dew stopped immediately upon contact with the coagulated fire oil, and as the oil seeped in, the dew also started turning into ordinary water droplets, which Yuan Dao wiped away with his hand. Fortunately, thank goodness. Even though the dew was not completely dispelled, seeing the effectiveness of the coagulated fire oil, Yuan Dao felt extremely relieved. Luckily, he brought some pieces from Great Xia, or given the situation just now in the wooden cabin, he would certainly not have survived. Yuan Dao's sensitivity to the surreal creatures was much higher than others. Observing the situation in the cabin, he perceived the activity of the deception detection jade on him long before Li Xuanxiang realized, confirmed the presence of surreal creatures on Yangyuan Peak, seizing the moment while everyone was panicking. He was the first to escape to the south side. But next, how do I escape? Yuan Dao raised his head and looked at the 20-meter-wide ravine ahead, where fierce blue flames were rising, and his face instantly showed difficulty. The ravines surrounding Yangyuan Peak had all risen with towering blue flames, encircling everyone there. He definitely had the ability to jump over, but the problem was, the dew on his body was not completely dispelled. Judging from the state of corpses near the ravine, the dew would explode upon contact with the flames. No matter how well he jumped, he could not ensure that he wouldn't touch even a bit of flame. Let's gamble. Try using coagulated fire oil to see if I can get rid of the dew completely. Thinking prompted action. Yuan Dao immediately took out the 3 pieces of coagulated fire oil from his pocket and started applying them on the dew-covered areas of his body. Can't get out. What to do? It's over, it's over. Why did a surreal suddenly appear? While Yuan Dao was applying coagulated fire oil, Wu Xing, Han Jiulai, Wu Lin, and many others with stronger earth-digging realm skills gathered at the ravine. They ignored Yuan Dao's strange actions and stared blankly at the fierce blue flames soaring dozens of meters high within the ravine. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and rush across. On the south side, there had been a previous battle, and there were still 2 wooden boards that weren't burnt through by the flames. A few anxious individuals stepped directly onto the boards, attempting to rush across quickly. Unfortunately, those who stepped on the boards barely rushed a meter before the blue flames came into contact. The white dew on their exterior burst open instantly and was devoured by the flames, reduced to bones along with the broken wooden bridge, falling down into the deep ravine below. Watching the last 2 boards break, the remaining earth-digging realm individuals were instantly filled with despair. Not just those in earth-digging realm, Wu Xing, Han Jiulai, Wu Lin, the the three at cold resistance level, witnessed the white dew on their bodies increasing, and their pupils too were filled with fear and panic. Cluck, 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 cluck after waking me up, why are you trying to run? An ethereal, melodious female voice suddenly echoed in everyone's ears. Not just those on the south side like Wu Xing, even Li Xuanxiang, blocked on the north side by the ravine, and over 20,000 people within Yangluo base all practically heard it. Everyone looked at the white dew on their bodies. Their expressions already plunged into extreme fear, for they all clearly perceived that this ethereal, alluring female voice was emanating from the white dew on their bodies. In this icy world, my white dew is just right to warm your bodies. The previously ethereal, melodious female voice suddenly turned sharp and hoarse. Profound killing intent in her tone immediately transmitted to everyone's heart. Everyone watched the white dew on their bodies, beginning to grow wildly and spread toward other parts of their bodies, faces instantly etched with terror. It's over. Yuan Dao was applying coagulated fire oil when he saw new dew appearing even before the old dew was dispelled, his face instantly filled with despair. Whoosh! Suddenly, an iron arrow shot in from outside the ravine. The fierce wind carried by the iron arrow actually managed to disperse the raging flames above the ravine. This scene immediately dissipated much of the despair on Yuan Dao's face. Yuan Dao catch. A package was thrown over from across the ravine. Yuan Dao heard Yuan Cheng's familiar voice, immediately jumped up to catch the package. Opening it he saw, his face instantly full of joy. Turn back the time to earlier at night. Peng Bo, accompanied by his 3 grandsons, followed Yuan Cheng's group of 4, all returning to Hive Station together. Grandpa Peng, are we no longer Yanglu people from now on? Of course not, Grandpa Peng me. You, Qin Feng, little ancestor, can never forget our identity as Yanglu people. Inside a guest room in the main building of Hive Station, Peng Bo held his grandson Peng Zhu, and upon hearing Liu Ming's query, he immediately reminded him and Qin Feng not to forget their identity as Yanglu people. Though those were his words, a hint of bitterness flashed across his eyes. Chapter 539, Chapter 236, White Du Gu, Despairing Yuan Dao, Yanglu. Now that things have come to this, the destruction of Yanglu camp is already a foregone conclusion, and at his age, how could he not see it clearly? But as the leader, having worked tirelessly for the camp for so many years, it's not easy to make him give up the Yanglu label. Not only himself, but also Liu Ming, Qin Gu, and the Peng Zhu in his arms, they are considered the core of Yanglu, and he is even more reluctant to let these 3 forget their identity as Yanglu people. Peng Bo's thoughts moved slightly and he spoke. Xiao Ming, do you know why our camp is called Yanglu? Liu Ming immediately nodded and said, I know, Grandpa told me. Liu Ming's grandpa, Liu He, is Peng Bo's sworn brother and also one of the 3 cold resistance levels of Yanglu, so naturally he knows a lot. I remember Grandpa said that the legend says more than 90 years ago in the early morning, a huge dewdrop suddenly fell from the sky. The gorges surrounding our base were created when the dewdrop smashed down. The dewdrop was extremely hot, solidifying rapidly upon hitting the ground, forming a raised mound. Our base, Yangyuan Peak, was formed like this. Qin Feng next to him obviously also heard this story from his grandpa and quickly chimed in. I heard Grandpa say it too. He also said that ever since we chose the base on the mound, we've never been disturbed by cold beasts. That dewdrop must be some kind of treasure, but unfortunately our camp's strength is insufficient to utilize it. Hearing this, Peng Bo nodded lightly. The history of Yanglu camp is not long. The rumors from more than 90 years ago are unclear whether true or not. However, this story counts as the origin of Yanglu camp, and naturally he hopes the 3 grandsons won't forget it. That's right, Grandpa told you. Leader Peng, the minister from my home, has arrived. Yuan Cheng suddenly walked in from outside, followed by a young man in black. Seeing Yuan Cheng's respectful attitude towards the young man, Peng Bo immediately composed himself and quickly stood up. 6 main power, the strength of this great Xia minister is not strong. But he is terrifyingly young, seemingly around Yuan Cheng's age. It seems he just hurried back from somewhere, looking quite rushed. Great Xia minister, Xia Chuan, Leader Peng, I'm quite interested in the story you just told. If you don't mind, could you tell me more? Xia Chuan, who just rushed back from Jing Valley, was still panting, but quickly opened his mouth to ask Peng Bo about the Yanglu base. The legend of the dewdrop was intriguing enough, but mainly it was Qin Feng just said that ever since choosing Yangyuan Peak as the base, Yanglu Camp has never been disturbed by cold beasts, which piqued his interest. There was also a vague sense that something was not quite right. Aside from something creepy, he couldn't think of anything else that could scare away cold beasts. His suspicions made him want to ask more. Peng Bo, after all, was beneath others. Roofs and Yuan Cheng had been kind to him. Moreover, when he first entered the hive station, he had seen a glimpse of the strength of great Xia, so he naturally did not dare to put on airs towards Xia Chuan and quickly recounted the matters of Yanglu base. The more Xia Chuan listened, the more something seemed off. Eventually he furrowed his brow, whispered a few words to Yuan Cheng beside him, and upon hearing them, Yuan Cheng nodded and turned to leave. After Yuan Cheng left, Xia Chuan turned back to look at Peng Bo, glanced at the two children behind him, and slowly revealed a smile on his face. Leader Peng, I also know about the affairs of Yanglu Camp. Wu Ying and Han Jiulai have been so heinous. Leader Peng must hate those two families to the core, right? Upon hearing these two names, Peng Bo gritted his teeth and said, "Of course. Now, I can offer Leader Peng an opportunity for revenge. I wonder if Leader Peng would be interested." Peng Bo raised his eyebrows and looked at Xia Chuan, asking, "What opportunity?" As Xia Chuan slowly revealed the plan, Peng Bo's expression first showed shock, then hesitation. Eventually, Xia Chuan said something that made him extremely intrigued, and afterwards he nodded heavily. "All right, just as you said, if Great Xia can bring out so many people, Peng Bo will accompany you on this trip." "All right, Leader Peng is straightforward. I will inform you shortly." Chapter 540, Chapter 237, Rescue in Wushuang's Doomsday. The 48th year of Longyu, April 17th. Just 1 hour left until dawn. On the south side of Yangyuan Peak, Yuan Dao saw over 100 pieces of solidified fire oil in the package, along with a dozen torches. His face instantly filled with joy as he hurriedly lit a torch and then smeared solidified fire oil all over his body. Just now, with limited solidified fire oil, he could only use it sparingly on the parts with dewdrops. Now that he had plenty, he directly crushed them and applied it over his whole body. Seeing the white dewdrops on himself quickly fading, he felt a bit less burdened. "Yuan Dao, what's happening inside?" Yuan Dao looked up and saw Yuan Cheng on the other side of the chasm, along with more than 100 people in light golden armor. They were dragging a few big trees, clearly intending to build a bridge. He immediately shouted out, "Don't come over, the anomaly hasn't appeared yet. If you get close, white dewdrops will grow on your body. When the dewdrops heat up and explode, blue flames will emerge. Coagulated fire oil works." At the edge of the chasm, Yuan Cheng's expression darkened. He immediately signaled the others, who were preparing to build the bridge, to stop. Then he looked down at the white dewdrops emerging on his arm and quickly applied solidified fire oil onto himself. "Cover yourselves with solidified fire oil first. Don't let the dewdrops spread." Yuan Dao's reminder was obviously a bit late. Not only him, but at this moment, over 100 great Xia people by the chasm were also growing dewdrops on their arms and faces. Realizing the dewdrops would heat up and explode, Yuan Cheng dared not be careless and immediately had everyone stop to apply solidified fire oil first. The Lord predicted this too accurately. There's indeed a problem with the Yangluo base. Fortunately, we brought enough solidified fire oil, otherwise we would have really perished here. Seeing the over 100 great Xia people continuously taking solidified fire oil from their waist pouches and applying it on themselves, Yuan Cheng's face was full of relief. Just a moment ago at the hive station, Xia Chuan ordered him to bring people to Yangluo to help Yuan Dao, specifically instructing him to bring some solidified fire oil. He didn't understand at first, but now, seeing the strange blue flames surrounding Yangyuan Peak, he suddenly understood. Seeing that everyone had applied the solidified fire oil and the white dewdrops had all disappeared, Yuan Cheng turned to look at Yuan Dao behind the great fire and immediately commanded, "Use solidified fire oil to suppress the fire in the chasm." He had personally witnessed the first iron arrow coated with coagulated fire oil suppress the blue fire in the chasm. As long as the fire could be suppressed, Yuan Dao on the other side of the chasm would naturally be able to escape. At his command, over 100 people immediately fired iron arrows coated with solidified fire oil toward the bottom of the chasm. Hiss! The blue flames in the chasm were indeed suppressed by the solidified fire oil, gradually retracting from dozens of meters high to just over 10 meters, finally lowering below the chasm. Whoosh! The moment the flames lowered below the chasm, a figure suddenly charged across. Who else could it be but Yuan Dao, who had been observing the fire all along? In midair, Yuan Dao's expression was still somewhat panicked, especially as he looked down to see a few new white dewdrops appearing on his chest, making him even more nervous. Yuan Cheng had thrown over a large bag of solidified fire oil, enough for him to coat his entire body several times. The problem was that, even after applying it repeatedly, the white dewdrops kept reappearing, especially on his chest, where he had been pierced by Li Xuanqian's snake spear. Although the golden sore pill had stabilized the wound, it never healed completely, and the white dewdrops, clearly bloodthirsty, easily reappeared at the wound. No matter how much solidified fire oil he applied, new ones kept emerging. It's probably a location issue. As long as I stay at Yangyuan Peak, white dewdrops will keep forming. Staying here will ultimately lead to death. I have to take a gamble. If I can't make the jump, I'll have to accept my fate. Standing on the chasm edge earlier, apart from applying solidified fire oil to himself, Yuan Dao had been observing closely. He saw very clearly that over 100 people across the chasm, after applying solidified fire oil once, no longer had dewdrops reappear on their bodies. This proved that it was very likely a problem with Yangyuan Peak. The White Dew Goo's area of influence had its core at Yangyuan Peak. The further away one was, the weaker its power became. In this case, he had to escape from Yangyuan Peak first. The issue was the newly emerged white dewdrops on his chest. He worried they would ignite while he jumped over the flames, and that was why he looked anxious. The fire has come down. It shouldn't happen as long as I get across. His mind raced with thoughts, but it all happened in a flash. Seeing himself just a step away from the other side, intense joy appeared on Yuan Dao's face. But that joy quickly turned into terror the next second. Trying to escape is not that simple. Boom! The sea of blue fire, which had just been suppressed below the chasm, suddenly surged up just as Yuan Dao was about to cross. Not the entire fire, but the flames gathered below, forming a fiery serpent that suddenly rose up, lunging straight at Yuan Dao's body. Sizzle! The white dewdrop on Yuan Dao's chest exploded. Blue flames suddenly flared up, quickly igniting the other dewdrops around the wound. From Yuan Cheng's perspective, Yuan Dao's chest erupted in a burst of blue flame, and the next moment, his whole body was engulfed by the fire. The flames consuming Yuan Dao elicited intense, agonizing screams from him. Rescue him! Yuan Cheng didn't hesitate for a moment. Crushing 2 pieces of solidified fire oil in his hands, he leaped up and directly embraced Yuan Dao flying through midair, immediately rubbing and applying solidified fire oil to his chest. Chapter 541, Chapter 237, Rescue and Wushuang's Doomsday Part 2. The hundreds of people from the Great Xia didn't idle either. They quickly raised their bows and shot arrows to suppress the blue flames still relentlessly chasing Yuan Dao. You have a wound on your chest. What happened? I was injured by Li Xuanqian. This eerie creature must have just awoken. We didn't see its form at all. This dew seems like a kind of plague and is likely one of its attack methods. As long as there's a wound, it's easy to catch it. Its true form is probably still on Yangyuan Peak. We should avoid going near that area. Despite the intense pain continuing, Yuan Dao still forced himself to speak out everything he had inferred. Fortunately, the solidified fire oil was still effective. With Yuan Cheng's constant application, the blue flames on Yuan Dao's body were quickly extinguished, and the white dew on his chest no longer reappeared, leaving only terrifying burn scars where the wounds were. This flame can even burn through the membrane. Yuan Cheng looked at the scars, his face full of shock. The cold resistance level membranes have been reinforced, and ordinary flames cannot burn through them unless continuously exposed. Although Yuan Dao was surrounded by blue flames, the entire burning process lasted no more than 5 or 6 breaths. The fact that it could burn Yuan Dao's membrane like this shows its power. Sir, the people over there are calling for help. Yuan Dao had already fallen unconscious. As Yuan Cheng raised his head, he heard a voice next to him and turned his gaze towards Yangyuan Peak, his expression immediately tensing. Help, sir, help. Save us, save us. Boo-hoo, I'm so hot, save me. The other side of the ravine was already crowded with people. At a quick glance, there seemed to be tens of thousands of them. Just now, Wu Ying, Han Jiulai, and a group of earth-digging realm individuals were nowhere to be seen, likely searching for other escape routes. The people standing here now must have come over from the top of the hill. Most of them appeared to be ordinary people, with very few from the logging realm. Yuan Cheng immediately realized these were likely people from the Yanglu camp earlier. They were covered in white dew, emitting an eerie cold glow in the night, with the dew's reflection on the icy surface making them look like a large group of spectral spirits wailing for help. Yuan Cheng looked down at the gravely injured and unconscious Yuan Dao, struggling momentarily before gritting his teeth and asking, "How long until dawn?" "At most half an hour." Upon receiving the report from his subordinate, Yuan Cheng again glanced across the ravine. Hearing the desperate cries for help, he finally made the decision to rescue them. Each person keeps 2 pieces of solidified fire oil. Throw everything else over there. Use up all the arrows, and after suppressing the fire, build a bridge immediately. How many survive will depend entirely on themselves. "Yes, sir." The people of Great Xia, upon hearing this, immediately started drawing their bows and shooting arrows to suppress the flames in the ravine. 2 people quickly rushed out afterward, lifting the prepared large trees and laying them across the ravine. Thud. "This black oil can wipe off the white dew on your bodies. Wipe it well, then cross the wooden bridge. How many of you can make it across is up to yourselves. Hurry." Yuan Cheng shouted loudly, throwing his own solidified fire oil across, with the rest of the Great Xia people following his lead, shouting while throwing the solidified fire oil to the opposite side. This, to those escaping from the top of Yangyuan Peak, was no less than a lifeline, and they began clamoring for the solidified fire oil. Those quick enough were applying it while rushing across the wooden bridge towards the other side of the ravine. Yuan Cheng frowned, noticing the chaos among the crowd and instinctively wanting to yell at them. However, realizing there was little he could do to stop it, he held himself back and continued to shoot arrows to suppress the flames below the ravine. In the face of extreme fear of life and death, human nature's good and evil were magnified manifold. "Son, I grabbed a piece for you. Hurry and run, take the wooden bridge with the fewest people. You can't compete with others on the other bridges." One father who seized a piece of solidified fire oil applied it to his son and painfully sent him onto the wooden bridge. "Brother, you run, you run. I have too much to do, it's too late for me. Take our parents and run." One older brother gave up his chance to use the solidified fire oil for his family, letting his younger sibling take their elderly parents along. "Ah Ying, go, quickly go. There's still a chance for survival." "No, I won't leave, I won't leave. If we're going to die, we'll die together." Some young couples forsook their chance of survival for the other to escape, but ultimately chose to die together, love triumphing over fear. "Boo-hoo-hoo, Dad, where are you? I'm burning up." A helpless child, unable to withstand the searing heat of the dew, cried out for their lost parents in the crowd. The good side, though noticeable, was ultimately the minority. On the numerous wooden bridges across the ravine, what unfolded mostly were scenes of pushing and shoving, as everyone feared not making it out, and a scramble ensued. "Don't block the way, get out of my way, get out, die." Some malicious individuals even directly shoved those in front away. Splatter. Yuan Cheng finally couldn't hold it in, directly shooting down those causing trouble. Even so, he knew very well that stopping the chaos at this juncture was impossible, so he could only watch powerlessly. Chapter 542, Chapter 237, Saving Lives, Wushuang's Doomsday Part 3. Hold it for the last 10 minutes, conserve your arrows. Estimating the time until dawn, Yuan Cheng issued the final order, then turned back, staring at the people across the wooden bridge, hoping more could escape. The prerequisite for rescuing others is to ensure one's own safety. With at most 20 minutes until dawn, these hundreds of Great Xia people are only in the earth-digging realm. They can't withstand the daylight. He had to leave time to find a hiding place for everyone, so this was all he could do. This mysterious entity seems to have just awoken. We haven't seen its physical form throughout the process. The dew seems like a plague, probably one of its attack methods. As long as there's a wound, it's easy to get infected. Its body might still be on Yangyuan Peak. Yuan Cheng looked down at the unconscious Yuan Dao, recalled what Yuan Dao had just said, and then turned to look at Yangyuan Peak, his expression growing even more serious. Judging from Yuan Dao's description alone, the mysterious entity on Yangyuan Peak is much harder to deal with than the wooden puppet and Jing Xian they encountered before. We barely fought our way into Pinxi Plain, and we happened to encounter this mysterious entity's resurgence. While Yuan Cheng was rescuing people at Yangyuan Peak, at the Wushuang camp located northwest of the Beehive, an extremely fierce battle was breaking out. The perimeter of the Wushuang camp was surrounded by hundreds of pitch-black giant stones. These stones stood over 10 meters tall, with widths ranging from 3 to 5 meters, and astonishingly, they were nearly 10 meters thick. Remarkably, even with such large stones stacked together, the largest gap between them was only as wide as a finger, meticulously seamless to the extreme. The entire giant stone array had only one exit, located on the eastern side. The exit was just over 3 meters wide and over 6 meters high. Considering the height, thickness, and gaps of the stone outer wall, in the event of war, merely guarding this exit would basically ensure the camp was well protected. How difficult could it be to guard a 3-meter-wide exit? People from Wushuang might not have understood before, but now they definitely understood. The eastern exit of the camp had long been breached, with the Xia people in pale gold armor flooding into the camp like a tide. And the defending forces on Wushuang's side were being pushed back repeatedly, soon colliding with the archers behind them. Brothers kill. So few people and they want to stop us dreaming. A single earth-digging realm equals 100 contribution value. Brothers charge. Seizing the Beehive was entirely due to the efforts of a few lords. We barely contributed. Now, it's finally time for us to exert ourselves at Wushuang. Don't be cowards, brothers. With all these contributions, if you don't want them, I will. Just like the Xia people charging at the moment, taking the Beehive before hardly relied on these earth-digging realm guys. The major trouble was resolved by Xia Chuan and his cohort of cold resistance-level warriors. At most, these others only shot a few arrows after breaking through the iron door of the Beehive. After finally getting an expedition to Pinxi Plain, they traveled this far only to find they contributed little. The battle spirit accumulated in them was suffocated and not yet unleashed. Now they could finally fight heartily, and their opponents were the Wushuang camp defenders, numbering just over 500. With 1,500 people from the intermediate hunting team on Great Xia's side, it was as if they were all injected with adrenaline, rushing wildly forward. While Great Xia people were fighting as though spurred by hormones, the Wushuang people were like wilted eggplants, most of them looking bewildered. Where did so many people come from? Great Xia, is there a camp called Great Xia in Pinxi Plain? Hadn't the leader already taken Yanglu? Why are there so many coming to attack us? Not from Long Mountain. Which camp is Great Xia from? The exit, how did the exit get opened? The frontline forces of both sides were already tangled together, yet most of the Wushuang side were still unclear, which shows just how serious the lopsided battle situation was. Clang! In the midst of the crowd, Hong Mu had already rushed to the front line. Just after chopping a Wushuang earth-digging realm with a blade, his helmet was shot off by an iron arrow, and a great blade followed, striking his shoulder. How is it possible? However, seeing the blade merely split the armor and not injure Hong Mu's shoulder, the wielder's pupils trembled with disbelief. How could mere 10 forged armor possibly block my blade? Hong Mu turned back, recognizing the dense patterns on the wielder's great blade as a 100 forged great blade, and realizing the intense pain from the shoulder's bones, a flash of relief passed through his eyes. His basic strength was only 19,000. Just then, he could clearly feel the opponent's strength was at least above 25,000, indicating that the opponent's cultivation and weapons were superior to his. Luckily, this 10-forged iron armor has Thunder QE Skull mixed in. Otherwise, my arm would be gone with that strike. Hong Mu's relief didn't last long, as the opponent, unsuccessful with the first strike, immediately aimed the second strike at his head. The problem was, his helmet had just been shot off. Hong Mu retreated in panic, trying to fall back into the midst of the Xia people charging, but he'd rushed too far ahead earlier, making a swift return impossible. Seeing the opponent's great blade come down on his head, Hong Mu had no choice but to abandon fleeing and quickly raise his blade to parry. Crack! Hong Mu used one of Great Xia's 4 blades, the barrier blade. Its blade was narrow and short, but agile, easily parrying the opponent's great blade. Chapter 543, Chapter 237, Rescue and Wushuang's Doomsday Part 4. Astonishingly, after the clash of 2 blades, both showed signs of slight curling. It's also a 100-tempered blade, but unfortunately, your strength is not as good as mine. The man from Wushwang noticed that Hong Mu was also using a 100-tempered blade and initially looked surprised. But then he snorted coldly, and with a sudden burst of strength, he pushed Hong Mu's body backward violently. His strength far exceeded Hong Mu's, which was his greatest advantage. As long as he didn't allow Hong Mu to retreat into the great Xia crowd, killing him was just a matter of time. Hong Mu retreated repeatedly under the pressure, moving toward the center of the defeated crowd of Wushwang. Realizing the opponent's plan, a surge of regret rose in his heart in an instant. After all, it is a massive camp with many experts inside, shouldn't have charged so fiercely. Now it's finished. Whoosh! An iron arrow attacked from behind his head, and Hong Mu swiftly ducked to evade, but with a glance out of the corner of his eye, he saw more arrows flying towards him, causing a chill in his heart. Even if I lose, I will take some of you down with me. The man from Wushwang, assured of his victory, smirked evilly at the corner of his lips. Taking advantage of Hong Mu's despair and distraction, he suddenly withdrew his large blade and fiercely slashed down. Bang! However, the expected scene did not occur as anticipated. The man was directly kicked tens of meters away, crashing into the middle of the defeated crowd of Wushwang with a violent impact, knocking over more than 10 people. With such force, survival was impossible. Hong Mu looked up and saw a burly figure clad in golden, 100-forged iron armor in front of him. His eyes instantly filled with intense joy. "Father, why are you here?" The one who kicked the man away was his father, Hong Gang. Hong Mu turned his head and saw that the battlefield had several more figures appearing at some point, dressed similarly to his father, turning the already defeated crowd of Wushwang into a chaotic mess, and his eyes were even more filled with joy. "Uncle Yang, Mr. Zhu, Lord Lu, why are all of you here?" "Nonsense without us, how did you get in so quickly?" After finishing, Hong Gang's expression turned cold and he scolded, "Just have some strength and don't know your limit. I told you to stay with the hunting team members, look at where you charged off to." Hearing this, Hong Mu turned his head and saw the group of Green Wolf team members 50 or 60 meters away, and immediately shrank his neck, laughing awkwardly. "Father, I thought this time only Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and Zhao Long were here. With all of you here, capturing Wushwang is a sure thing." It was already a sure thing. The adults mainly wanted to train your abilities. Look over there, that cold resistance level of Wushwang is about to lose his life. Following his father's gaze, Hong Mu saw the core area of Wushwang's camp, where a cold resistance level battle was erupting. "Duan Pingyu, I want your life. Pengbo, you dare collude with foreign forces and wreak havoc on Pingxi Plain. I will report to Lord Marquis to have you severely punished. We'll see if you can survive today first. I can't take Wuxing and Han Jiulai's lives for now, but I'll take yours to honor Yang Lu's departed soul." Pengbo's angry roar was earth-shattering, carrying enough hatred in his voice that even Hong Mu from afar couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. The minister and several other adults didn't make a move throughout. Seeing Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, Zhao Long, and several other cold resistance-level individuals standing still around the man from Wushwang with most of their gazes fixed on the earth-digging realm battlefield, Hong Mu couldn't help but be stunned. "I told you it was to train your abilities on purpose. I just watched for a while. Your fight was terrible. Even Mr. Minister didn't look pleased. I guess we all need to be reprimanded." Hong Mu was momentarily stunned upon hearing this, looking at the ground and seeing hardly any corpses of great Xia people, filled with confusion in his heart. The fighting was so good, yet we still get reprimanded. How could that be? Chapter 544, Chapter 238, Decisive Victory, Admonition, and Hu Tong's Plan. In front of the Wushwang main building, Peng Bo tightly gripped the ghost head great saber, fully unleashing the power of EIGHT Chinese letter, slashing towards Duan Pingyu's vital points. In just moments, he forced Duan Pingyu from outside the building to inside. It's not that he didn't want to escape, but Xia Chuan and a few others directly surrounded the main building. As soon as he showed any sign of fleeing, Xia Chuan and the others would immediately shift their positions, obviously intending to block his escape. He could only flee inside the building. Bang, bang. Spare me, Leader Peng, spare me. I am willing to surrender. I ask the noble gentleman of Great Xia to persuade Peng Bo. Despite the Wushwang main building being fortified with iron materials, It couldn't withstand the relentless bombing of someone at the cold resistance level with the power of EIGHT Chinese letter. Huge saber marks soon appeared on the walls, accompanied by Duan Pingyu's screams and pleas for mercy. He even tried to win over Xia Chuan and the others, presenting a posture of surrender, hoping they could persuade Peng Bo. Unfortunately, Xia Chuan was always watching the battlefield over at the earth-digging realm. Luo Yuan, Zhao Long, and several others at the cold resistance level remained unresponsive, simply watching the main building, ignoring his cries for help. Hu. Duan Pingyu's weapon, like Wuxing, was also a long staff. Hearing the whoosh of wind by his ear, realizing Peng Bo's great saber was cleaving down from above, despair filled his heart. He dragged his injured body and slammed through the second-floor wall trying to escape. However, already covered in wounds and weakened, he could not completely break through the iron wall of the main building, managing to get only half his body out, his legs still inside. Crack! The saber came down, and with a scream from Peng Bo, his legs were severed, and his upper body tumbled down from the second-floor wall, head first like an onion planted into the ground. Even with his legs cut off, the survival instinct drove him to crawl forward furiously with his hands, still trying to escape. Even knowing he was doomed to die, he wanted to live a few seconds longer. But Peng Bo did not let him go. He leaped down from the second floor, using the momentum from the leg slash, gripping the eye sockets of the ghost head with his fingers, and plunged the saber into Duan Pingyu's back. The grip on his saber handle wasn't just for fun, carved into a skull. At critical moments like these, the skull's eyes, nostrils, and mouth holes, controlled by fingers, could yield unexpected results. Thud. With so many wrongful souls at Yanglu, just killing you like this is too merciful. The ghost head great saber pierced through Duan Pingyu's back. Peng Bo's voice, filled with overwhelming hatred, resounded again, signaling Duan Pingyu's imminent, most vicious revenge. Kill me, kill me. Peng Bo, you beast, kill me, kill me. I beg you, kill me, just kill me. As Duan Pingyu's screams and pleas reached their peak, the battleground that still had some residual echoes instantly calmed down. Everyone turned their heads towards this direction. With each saber strike from Peng Bo, their pupils trembled violently, a chill gradually creeping into their hearts. Gulp! Clang! On the Wushwang side, the first person dropped their weapon and surrendered. Clang, clang! A chain reaction quickly followed. More and more people laid down their weapons, kneeling one after another towards the great Xia people nearby. Those shooting arrows in the logging realm behind also dropped their iron bows and knelt down. In fact, once Han Gang, Huang Yang, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Lu Yang, Zhu Yuan, and Lin Kai, 7 at the cold resistance level, joined the fight, Wushwang was already in disarray, and those still capable of resistance numbered just over 200. As the strongest group laid down their weapons, the remaining logging realm members, including some very loyal ordinary people of Wushwang, also surrendered. Seeing the complete surrender of the Wushwang camp, every person of Great Xia had an invigorated smile on their face. Wushwang was conquered just like that. Bind and detain all fighters from Wushwang, then quickly tally up the casualties. Once finished, those in charge gather in front of me. Xia Chuan's shout awakened all the people of Great Xia still immersed in the grand victory. The captains or leaders of 30 intermediate hunting teams promptly began organizing their men to get busy. Even Luo Yuan, Zhao Long, and Han Guang, standing next to Xia Chuan, seeing that Duan Pingyu was doomed, went to gather their hunting teams to start tallying kills and casualties. Only Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Zhu Yuan, and a few others caught the hint of anger in Xia Chuan's tone. They exchanged puzzled glances with each other. Soon enough, the 30 intermediate hunting team captains, once done with their tasks, all lined up in front of Xia Chuan in 3 rows. The 30 were all captains of intermediate hunting teams, but due to differing cultivation, their status also varied. Among those who came this time, the 10 at the cold resistance level, Luo Yuan, Zhao Long, Han Guang, Han Gang, Huang Yang, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Lu Yang, Zhu Yuan, Lin Kai stood in the front row. The next 2 rows consisted of Zhu Shun, Ying Xuan, Zhu Yuankai, Xiao Kengcheng, Zhu He, and other captains who had just been promoted to intermediate. Minister Yuan Dao was absent, so matters of the hunting department were naturally to be handled by Luo Yuan, the deputy director. Seeing everyone gathered, he began to inquire about the casualties and gains from each one, summarizing them before reporting loudly to Xia Chuan. Report to the minister, in this battle, our 30 teams have a total kill count of 782, including 327 from the earth-digging realm and 455 from the logging realm. We have detained 821 captives, including 252 from the earth-digging realm, 548 from the logging realm, and 21 ordinary people. Our department's total casualties are 42, with 28 dead and 14 seriously injured, the rest with minor injuries. Chapter 545, Chapter 238, Decisive Victory Reprimand Hu Tong's Plan Part 2. When Luo Yuan reported, his tone was very calm, but even so, most people showed a slight hint of pride on their faces upon hearing these figures. Clearly, they were extremely satisfied with this achievement. Only Luo Yuan himself and the cold resistance level individuals around him seemed to notice something. They looked up and saw Xia Chuan's somber expression, immediately standing up straight and not daring to show any emotion. Only 28 died, and you're all satisfied, right? Xia Chuan's question, full of anger, caused everyone to pause slightly. With 42 casualties and nearly 800 enemies killed, including a good number in the earth-digging realm, and capturing the entire camp Wushwang, it was an indisputable great victory. What was there to be dissatisfied about? 30 intermediate hunting teams, 1,500 people, with about 3 times the number advantage in the earth-digging realm. With Great Xia's smithing expertise, your 10 forged weapons are surely stronger than theirs. The Thunder QE iron armor you're wearing is better than the ordinary iron armor worn by the Wushwang. You all admit these 3 points, right? Upon hearing Xia Chuan's words, people vaguely realized something, and as their minds started to cool down, they gradually withdrew the pride from their faces. Number, weapons, armor. You were superior in every aspect. There were also 10 cold resistance level helping you break through the gates, and even after you breached, most of the Wushwang hadn't reacted yet. In such a situation where you had every advantage, you still needed 7 cold resistance level to help, and in the end, 42 were killed or wounded. Do you really think this great victory is glorious? When Xia Chuan's words fell, all the 10 cold resistance level, including Luo Yuan and the 20 people behind them, lowered their heads, showing a hint of shame on their faces. 42 casualties are, of course, not many, but you must understand, tonight, over 800 Wushwang in the earth-digging realm were not present. The camp only had 1 cold resistance level, and he didn't attack any of you. In such a scenario, 42 casualties. If attacking a normal large camp, how many times would this number multiply? These 30 intermediate hunting teams are currently the absolute elite of Great Xia. Even such a favorable battle, catching the enemy unprepared, turns out like this. In the upcoming Pinxi Plain battle, I fear not many of you will return to Xia City alive. Remember, Wushwang in Pinxi Plain is just an ordinary camp. The strongest here are Long Mountain and Zhejiang. I'm unclear about Zhejiang, but Long Mountain has a Long Yu army. With the way you just attacked Wushwang, if you really run into this army, what will be the result? You can think for yourselves. Hearing Xia Chuan's increasingly profound admonitions, the faces of the people showed more and more seriousness, along with a hint of shame. Considering this was your first large-scale battle, I deliberately chose an opponent whose strength wasn't high. But after watching the entire battle, I have to say, your performance was very disappointing. Xia Chuan paused, pointing at the ordinary hunting team members still busy. I won't say much about them. On regular days when hunting cold beast, they follow your lead and it's the same on the battlefield. But you, what were you just doing? Relying on slightly stronger power, charging recklessly, disregarding your team members, leaving them to fight individually, without any strategy, just a disorganized mob. You really think the 42 losses in battle were achieved solely by yourselves? In this battle, you had every advantage. My original plan was for the 7 cold resistance level to only break the gates, leaving the rest to you. If I couldn't stand it and hadn't let them intervene sooner, your battle losses would have at least been 3 to 5 times higher. At this, not only did all 30 standing in front of Xia Chuan show signs of being shocked, but even the ordinary members of the great Xia hunting team at the back showed shame on their faces. Among the crowd, Hong Mu, even more so, lowered his head in shame. Xia Chuan spoke of those who only know how to charge blindly, not only the 30 captains, but 9 out of 10 ordinary hunting team members were like this, and he himself was one of them. He had just charged excitedly, putting himself in danger. If it weren't for his father Hong Gang's timely intervention, he would very likely have become the 43rd casualty. What, just because you have the title of a hunting team captain, you only care about hunting and not about fighting with other camps. On the battlefield, you rely solely on personal skill, is that right? Xia Chuan's voice was sonorous and powerful, as if questioning everyone. In any fight, whether it's cold beasts, monstrosities, or humans, they are all enemies that can take your life. The reason for establishing so many small teams was to make you understand the importance of division of labor, collaboration, and coordination. In my view, the casualties of 42 people today were entirely caused by your negligence and carelessness. In the foreseeable future, battles in Pinksy Plain won't be few. If in the next major battle you're still like this, there's no need for Great Xia to stay in Pinksy Plain. I'll immediately take you all back to Xia City and come back when you're ready next time. Xia Chuan paused briefly, speaking seriously. Just so you know, our leader once said that the population is Great Xia's most precious wealth, especially you hunting teams, members in the earth-digging realm. Losing even one is a significant loss for the camp. Rather than risking your lives for territory, it's better to stay in Xia City until you're powerful enough to come back.